It's time for Twig This Week in Google. I'm back. Hello, everybody. Paris Martin is also here. Jeff Jarvis is here. The Moral Panic are here. We're going to talk about the passing of one of the great minds in economics. We'll also talk about Bill Maher's new podcast network, AI, when it's a good thing to do and when it's not, and a whole lot more. Yes, it's This Week in Google, exploring the world of stretch pants next. This episode is brought to you by Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Cyber attackers are now using AI in creative ways to compromise users and breach organizations. In a security landscape where you must fight AI with AI, the best AI protection comes from having the best data. Zscaler has extended its zero-trust architecture with powerful AI engines that are trained and tuned by 500 trillion daily signals. Learn more about Zscaler Zero Trust Plus AI to prevent ransomware and AI attacks. Experience your world secured. Visit zscaler.com/zerotrustai.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 761, recorded Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Exploring the world of stretch pants. This Week in Google is brought to you by Bitwarden, the password manager I use, everybody I know uses, everybody ought to use. It's a cost-effective solution that can dramatically increase your chances of staying safe online. Bitwarden's open source. That means they get better all the time. They just launched a new feature. You got to turn it on, but you might want to. I've been using it, and I love it, called Inline Autofill. It makes it easier than ever to log on to websites, Windows or Mac. A drop-down menu will appear when you select a username or password field. Just click on the field, and then you can quickly choose the login you want to use. Clicking on a login will quickly autofill both the username and password in the field, and you're done. You're in. If you're a current Bitwarden user, you do need to turn this feature on. Go to the settings menu in the browser extension, select autofill, then use the drop-down box in the show autofill menu on form fields to pick which option works best for you. But the reason I mention this is why we love Bitwarden. It gets better all the time. People submit improvements, and because it's open source, it's free for individual users for life. As many passwords as you want on every platform you use. It even includes pass keys and hardware keys. No wonder Wirecutter called Bitwarden best for most people. It was honored as Fast Company's 2023 brands that matter in security. The open source password manager trusted by millions. The only one I use. It's the one I tell everybody I know to use. I'm telling you, you should try it. Get started with Bitwarden's free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan. Or, as I said, get started for free across all devices as an individual user. The place to go, bitwarden.com/twit. It's easy to move all your old passwords into Bitwarden. Turn on passkey support. You will love it. You never have to worry about where your passkeys live. They live in your secure Bitwarden vault. Bitwarden.com/twit. It's time for Twig, This Week in General, the show where we cover the latest stuff. Whatever the hell we want to cover. Yeah, I'm back. I'm tanned, and I'm ready to talk about nonsense with Paris Martineau from The Information. Thank you, Paris, for filling in for me. Awesome
You're my
job.
general this week.
Awesome
Thank
job.
You.
Yep. You can relax. I'll take it from here.
Great.
Yep. Theinformation.com.
I have no thoughts in this head. That's probably not a great advertisement for theinformation.com. All my thoughts are on theinformation.com.
Do you find yourself obsessing about the article that you're working on? Like this, it's your whole life?
Yeah, if it's a good one.
Yeah. Like all the time you
honestly,
think about
the problem comes if I'm working on something that I'm not obsessing about. Because then I have to force myself in order to make it worth obsessing over.
Yeah. I will get obsessive about stuff and just not stop.
What, you weren't obsessing over our lovely podcast This Week in General? Your entire 2 weeks in Cabo?
When I was in Cabo San Lucas in the beautiful Mexico, I was obsessing on sun, surf, and sand. That's all I thought about. Yeah. Jeff Jarvis is here. Hello, Jeff.
Hello there. Paris did a superb job. She was a great host.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say because, as you well know, it was in lieu of you hosting.
That's okay.
The young have taken over.
The old guys have to step aside.
Yeah, Jeff did something like 75 podcasts that day.
Yeah,
so he couldn't have hosted another one.
He works hard. Are you I got hey, I was thrilled. I got a note from your publisher. They want me to review The Web We Weave, your new book coming out.
Oh, yay.
They sent me the galley. I shall give you a log
an early
roll.
drink, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I shall send you a log roll worthy. When is that coming out?
Not till October. Jesus.
Well, you know, pre-orders is funny. My son's cookbook comes out in October, and he's obsessing about whether he's #1 on Amazon, which he was for a long time, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's probably still #1 in cookbooks. But it like you're pre-ordering for 6 months from now, which is...
I know, it's ridiculous.
Well, because you want all the pre-orders so that you boost the amount of first week sales that you increase the likelihood of you ending up in the New York Times bestseller list, right?
And I'm not going to end up there, and it's not going to end up there, but they obsess on that. Versus Bloomsbury, my present publisher, the academic publisher, they want you to order directly from them, and they give discount codes for it so that they make more money on every sale.
Let me just quickly...
real publishers don't want to do that.
I remember when I wrote my first book, I did spend a lot of time looking at the Amazon bestseller list. Yeah, he's dropped a little bit. #3 in burger and sandwich recipes. #11 in comfort food cooking. #18 in quick and easy cooking.
Okay, wait. What are #1 and #2 in burger and sandwich recipes?
Well, you know, I don't know. There's nothing that could possibly compete with the best burger and sandwich book ever written. The Good Housekeeping Cookbook? No. Artisan sourdough made simple? No. It's clearly, this should be #1. Salt Hank, a 5-napkin situation. Clearly the best cover of them all, right?
It is amazing. I don't see him as comfort food. That strikes me as odd.
Yeah, well,
I think he's radical food.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, look, he's #1 new release in burger and sandwich recipes. So that's
that you can hang your hat in that.
New kid.
The real trick is to get onto the bestseller list on the New York Times, and that won't be till October. But it sounds as if you'd written a book, Paris. You knew the deets. You know how to...
I love knowing behind the scenes gossip about industries that I have no business knowing anything about.
Well, you're a writer. You have every business knowing about this.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah. Jeff, how does the New York Times bestseller list? Did they call bookstores like they did in the old days?
No, the places just report. And there's places that report. But now the whole distribution structure, now you've got Ingram and all these others. And it's very confusing.
These days, yeah.
And no one knows, yeah.
And you can get that little cross of shame on the New York Times bestseller list. If you look and you see somebody with like a little T insignia next to their title, that means that they think you maybe manipulated book orders.
Like Trump. The T stands for Trump.
That's hysterical.
Like
though,
you bought a bunch of... It means that you bought a bunch of books in bulk, or at least they think you did.
Right.
So it's like a black mark kind of on your New York Times bestseller.
I mean, the thing about it is that even the best-selling book most weeks is tiny. When you get to, if you want to think about math.
It'd have to be if you could influence it by going to a bookstore and buying a few boxes. It can't be, ballistic, right? So
it's a vestige of our mass media presumptions about how
it's not
the biggest has to be the most important.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the same problem with it's trending on Twitter. Meaningless, because it still means a small number of people see whatever it was that was trending.
I have to say though, Henry's convinced, and I think his publisher. This comes from his publisher, that if he can get on the New York Times bestseller list, that makes for a cookbook makes a huge deal. Right.
It's huge. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy then. But the odds of getting on, don't have Henry. I mean, I hope for him. I'll pray for him. I'll buy the book. But that's not the be-all and end-all.
No.
Yeah. The reason I know that detail about the New York Times bestseller list is my friends who try to moneyball, or I guess work in publishing. I was going to say try and moneyball book publishing, but I guess that's their job.
No, I like it.
They've always described as the perfect recipe to success is your debut book. If you can get it on the New York Times bestseller list, especially with a nonfiction or fiction title, then also get some sort of optioning deal past there. Then you'll be able to maximize your earning potential for future advances.
Right.
But
since you mentioned Moneyball, I should probably mention the passing of Daniel Kahneman, who was a psychologist, but won a Nobel Prize in economics for his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and his research on the psychology of economics. He passed away just yesterday.
Which was an enjoyable book.
Yeah, enjoyable. My friend Cory Doctorow calls these kinds of books, Malcolm Gladwell's books as well, Yuri Harari's books, just so stories. Because
I agree, but I think wasn't Kahneman kind of early on that trend?
He was the first. Freakonomics.
Right, so we can either say
what do you mean by just so stories?
Or he ruined things. Sorry, Paris.
Just so stories are stories that are too good to be true.
Yeah,
and everybody goes, oh, that's amazing! What a great insight. For instance, one of the things Kahneman did not invent but talked about was that you have two thinking processes running in your brain at all times. I think it's logic and intuition, but I think he called it System 1 and System 2. But you could think of it as logic and intuition.
Trademark.
He didn't invent it, but he certainly popularized it. And that's what a lot of this book was about. But in the years since that book came out, and it's a great listen or read. I listened to it, but it's a great read. But in the years since it's come out, there's been some effort to try to replicate the studies that he quotes, and they are not that replicable, which is, maybe a flaw of psychology in general. A lot of the results, even the famous Stanford prison study apparently.
Everything about it is bunk. They just put a bunch of kids in a basement. Right. They were like, some of you are cops, some of you are prisoners. Go nuts.
Yeah. So I don't want to...
I guess the subject of the Just So books, though, there's this fantastic podcast that kind of explores this phenomenon more in depth. It's called If Books Could Kill. It's hosted by Michael Hobbs and Peter Shamsiri. And it specifically kind of, I think their logline is like, it's a show targeting airport books that they describe as the super spreader events of American stupidity. And it kind of breaks down what about these books makes them so popular and what doesn't exactly hold up to snuff. So I think the first episode they did was on Freakonomics.
Yeah, perfect example.
And they have some really great early stuff.
Which, by the way, Freakonomics is a very, very successful podcast as well. So,
of course.
Yeah.
And it's, yes.
Do you think they'll do Kara's book soon? No, that was mean. I don't want to bring it up. No, didn't say it. Don't know. Nothing to say here. The most recent episode of If Books Could Kill is about Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In.
Yep, Lean In.
Well, the books that are killing it right now that just drives me completely crazy, which I shouldn't bring it up because I don't want to promote it, is Jonathan Haidt. Is phones are killing youth and they're killing the young people, and it's moral panic of the worst.
I have very mixed feelings about Haidt. I've interviewed him.
Can't stand him.
I thought The Righteous Mind was a very interesting book. Another one, by the way, in the Kahneman kind of mold of.
Oh, very much so. More moral panicky.
If you study how people are thinking, this is why the right and left are divided. It's a very interesting book. And he's written many more kind of on the same hypothesis. I interviewed him. One of his graduate students actually made an introduction for me, which was great. But of late, he's kind of gone off the deep end.
He's completely off the deep end. And he quotes, in the Atlantic ran an excerpt, and I've got it somewhere on my Twitter, where in one paragraph he talks about suicide rates since 2000 or 2010. Aha, see? The phone. Well, the thing is, suicide rates, at least among boys, were much higher in 1990 and were equal among girls back in 1990, before Facebook, before the phone, before all of that. But he conveniently ignores all that. Yeah. So I put up his quote, and I said, here's Jonathan Haidt, and here's the facts, with a quote from my upcoming book. And then he this is what he does. He comes in, what do you mean, Jeff? I also mentioned this and that. And I see all kinds of things. Siva Vaidyanathan, who's our mutual friend, cannot abide him. Calls Haidt his nemesis because he acts like a scholar, acts like a university person, but isn't one in Siva's view.
This is probably anyway. Kahneman's book's worth reading. He did win the Nobel Prize. Passed away. Thinking Fast and Slow. I recommend it. But take with a grain of salt a number of the chapters, because a lot of those studies that he quotes were never successfully replicated, which means maybe the conclusions are a little bit off. But we seem to be filled now, and it's all podcasting's fault. I notice every time somebody comes on MSNBC, and his podcast everybody's got a freaking podcast now. I saw, who was the member of Congress who was thrown out, Democratic member of Congress, former comedian on Saturday Night Live, Al Franken. Comes on, he was on the other day on MSNBC, and it's, of course, he's got a podcast, and that's what everybody has. So I think there's an interesting cautionary tale, because a lot of the people who we look up to turn out to be somewhat fraudulent. Did you see the Intelligencer's article about Huberman?
No.
I did see it. I haven't fully finished reading it, but it seemed like a whopper of an article.
It's quite a story. Andrew Huberman hosts Huberman Labs podcast. The Intelligencer, which is a New York Magazine online kind of investigative
feature.
Kind of blew the lid off of it, including the fact that the lab has long been closed. There's one postdoc working there on their own volition that Huberman really isn't this. He lives 6 hours away. He isn't really the scientist he claims to be. I don't think it diminishes the value of his podcast. A lot of people get a lot of value out of his podcast. In fact, the woman who wrote the article said, I stopped drinking because of the Huberman Lab podcast about alcohol. But feet of clay. It's only a matter of time before they write this article about me. I keep hoping. I keep praying. Because it's got to be.
I mean, I guess for context, I hadn't heard of him before this article, so I did a little bit of research. He's like a famous neurologist who has become a huge podcast star because of this podcast, the Huberman Lab, that seems to advocate for, I guess it's quite popular among people who are in recovery.
A lot of the stuff in there is good.
Yeah,
he
it seems to be a lot of normal lifestyle, relationship stuff.
Ways of breathing. He talks about alcohol and why there's no safe amount of alcohol. He talks about how you got to get 10 minutes of sun on your head every day. A lot of this stuff is valuable, and I would not dismiss it just because he perhaps isn't all he says he'd be. But the point I'm making, which got started with Kahneman and now, is that there are a lot of people out there who position themselves as leaders and thought leaders and stuff who really aren't. They just want to be. I mean, they are, but they get maybe too much power, I think, sometimes.
Bill Maher is starting a podcast network.
Of course he is. Bill.
I'm surprised he didn't have one already.
It's a bad idea, Bill. Trust me. Don't do it, Bill. Step away from the microphone. It's usually
he says, I'm looking for people who don't, before they speak, say, what's the right answer here?
Yeah, that's right. He's right. But he's actually right, because, so for me, it's what's the right answer here is like the whole point of all of our shows is let's get to the truth of it and so forth. It's not as compelling as I've got the right answer. Let me tell you what it is. But generally people who
he wants to be you can't cancel us, right? It's kind of the Barry Weiss school of.
It's called Club Random Studios. Kevin Garnett's podcast is going there, KG certified. Fred Durst. Oh, you kind of already know what's going on here, Billy Corgan.
Yeah, you know what this is.
Yeah.
HBO finally gets tired of him and gets rid of him.
I think that's really what happens is that when people can't make it any longer in mainstream, like, perhaps some guy who was on cable TV doing a technology show back in the 90s and he can't, nobody will hire him for a TV show. What does he do? He fires up a podcast network because it's cheap. And
you didn't want to be hired by a TV show.
No, actually,
did you?
I make more money, or I did anyway. Not so much now, but I for many years made more money in podcasting than I ever did in mainstream. But that wasn't about the money. I think I wanted the control. I didn't really like being told, you could do a 3-minute segment on this, and it's just I like
Instead, we do 3 hours.
I know, I'm
I was
lazy.
going to say, you don't want one of those little timers they got to NPR or you got to schedule all your hits.
I'm lazy.
You got to have a 3.5 hour show.
I want my day to start at 11 a.m. to end at 4 p.m. I wanted to come in and just talk and then leave. I'm lazy.
You're not lazy. You do tons of shows.
You do a lot of work.
Not anymore. Hey, here's a big story. Let's change the subject real quick.
Okay.
Vinyl records outsell CDs for the second year running. Last year's vinyl revenue in the U.S., according to The Verge, more than doubled the amount spent on CDs. Now, of course, CDs are dying.
Well,
I was going to say, the most shocking thing about this is who is still buying CDs?
CDs, yes.
But 43 million vinyl records were sold last year. That's a really large number. I mean, admittedly, many, many more people listen to streaming. But that's...
Howard Stern just ridicules Baba Booey, Gary Del Latte, for liking vinyl. I like vinyl, boss. And Howard thinks it's the most ridiculous thing on earth. But Gary has, a whole room and a special stereo, and it's like going back to the 70s.
You can make a case.
I love vinyl.
Yeah,
it's great.
Do you
it's nice to have.
live in Brooklyn.
I do have a vinyl.
Yeah,
I have vinyl. I've got a record player. I like it because it's a way to support artists. It's a way to own physical media. I enjoy displaying the art on the records, and I enjoy. It's a good way. Instead of just queuing up an album on Spotify, I can queue it up on my record player.
Did your parents have a big stereo?
They had, a big CD player and tape cassette stereo, but never any vinyl.
Oh, wow. See, I'm so old. Leo, I bet you did too. My parents had, the stereo was a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
The size of a dining room
my grandmother
buffet.
had that, but yeah.
I bet you that thing sounded really good, though.
No, it didn't. It sounded tubby as hell.
Yeah.
There is more than just the medium that makes the difference. There have been a number of articles I've seen lately that say the studios, when they're mixing, I think this is really true. And Benito, you can weigh in on this because you're a musician and you probably know a lot about it. When they're making pop records intended for airplay, streaming, and putting on CDs, they compress them very, very highly because they have more punch. Compression means that the difference between the quietest sounds and the loudest sounds is reduced. So everything kind of is... And I've seen actually comparisons between the vinyl versions of recent songs and the CD versions. And because they know that it's people like Paris, it's twee boho collectors in Brooklyn who are buying vinyl that care about audio more, perhaps, they don't compress it as much. It's not going to go to streaming or airplay. And so you might actually get a better sounding record, not because the medium is better.
Okay, a couple of things there.
Yes.
So for one, the medium is a little bit better in that
it's analog.
It preserves more dynamic range.
Yeah.
Right.
So quiet parts can be quieter and loud parts can be louder without distorting your system.
Right.
But when it comes to like mastering, which is what you're talking about, the process of creating the final audio tracks, right, that go on the record, all the tools today that actually produce music, it's all digital. So actually, like, digital mediums are kind of the best for modern music. Anything made after like 1996,
because it's recorded digitally.
It's all recorded digitally. So like digital mediums are probably better for sound quality.
Yeah.
But back before that, all of the records were mastered for vinyl.
Right.
So that's why records for like 80s records, 70s records, 60s records, those definitely sound better because they were mastered for that medium.
How much vinyl do you have, Benito?
About 300.
Good for you.
Oh.
And do you have a turntable that is in a sandbox, isolated from vibrations?
Not quite. I mean,
earthquakes.
I'd need to. You want to give me a raise, and I'll get one of those.
Well, that's all up to the members of Club Twit right now. If you want Benito to have a better sound system, go to twit.tv/clubtwit. Sign up for $7 a month. And
do it.
This poor child could have a better sound.
We'll be able to listen to his hundreds of vinyl records in perfect
in a
audio
sandbox.
quality.
Here's an article from creativeaudioworks.com. which is actually kind of interesting. It debunks a little bit what I said, which is that there are different masters for vinyl and CD. He says, in fact, if you purchase an album, as Benito said, from the last 2 decades on vinyl, it's likely that the master will be no better than on CD. Alternative masters for vinyl cost money. Mastering is a significant cost of producing a record. However, there are older, as you said, Benito, older records that sound very good on vinyl.
Jazz sounds amazing on vinyl.
You know, Miles Davis' Kinda Blue will never sound better than it does on a record.
Absolutely.
I don't know it's warmer somehow. I don't know what it is. This is a great article, actually. The other problem, of course, with vinyl is it clicks. You have to have one of those old 80s Discmaster washing sponges that you put solution on, and you wash the grooves. Yeah. There's a whole thing. Maybe that's what people like, is there's a process with vinyl. And maybe that's also what psychologically makes them think, this sounds better. I'm, putting more effort into it.
And to answer Paris's question earlier about who's buying CDs now, people who are buying CDs now are old vinyl collectors who don't want to pay new vinyl prices. Who are just like music collectors who don't want to pay, because vinyl has gotten way more expensive.
It's really expensive.
Yeah.
Do you buy the 108 gram vinyl records?
I'm not that kind of collector. Okay. I just pick up the records that I like. I'm not like a collector.
What does an average album cost these days?
A brand new, about 30 to 40.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And the CD is $16.99 unless you join the RCA Music Club, when you can get 20 for a penny. Little tip, little life hack for you.
And destroy your credit on the way.
And destroy your credit forever. Anyway, somebody's buying them. 43 million vinyl records, according to the Recording Industry Association of America. 6 million more than the number of CDs sold in 2023. And that's the second time that's happened since 1987.
I just joined that club, added a little bit more to the vinyl side. I did a pre-order of Baldur's Gate 3's soundtrack on vinyl recently.
Wow.
Oh, that's so you. That is so you.
I'm still pissed because Pentiment, the game I think I've talked about once before that Jeff tried to download on his computer, where you play a 15th or 16th century Bavarian illustrator around the
15th.
Gutenberg 15th. Thank you. I was like, I can't get it wrong, but I did. Around the Gutenberg press launch, or I guess launch is the wrong word for it.
You called it
around the launch of the Gutenberg press,
Yeah,
but they have an incredible soundtrack. Everything is like, it's all authentic to the era. Everything in the game as well as the soundtrack. And I wanted to get it on vinyl, but it sold out in like 1 hour.
Wow.
No. So
the entire game is like wood block carving.
It's really beautiful.
Is how
Is it a good game?
Designed. It is a fantastic game.
I'm
It's like a murder mystery.
It's on Xbox.
You should. It is basically you are this Bavarian illustrator in kind of a small Bavarian town trying to complete your masterwork. A murder happens and you get kind of caught up in it. And you have to make a series of choices that influence the fate of the game.
Oh, sounds like Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose. Have you read Name of the Rose?
No, I have not.
Oh, my God. Put that game down and go read The Name of the Rose, one of the great murder mysteries.
Yeah, you'll like it.
It's a friar is the detective. Comes from that era. It's wonderful. Now, did Pentiment record new music for this, or did they take old music?
I believe they recorded new music. It may have been some of it based on old music. They have like a whole, at the end of the credits, they have like a whole bibliography and like historical reference section of things they did to make sure that every aspect of the game and setting was as historically accurate.
Now you're making me all sad and angry again that I can't play it.
I will figure out how you can get it on your computer.
On a Chromebook? Get him an Xbox. You just get him an Xbox.
It is a really easy, it's just like a text-based adventure.
Yeah.
There's nothing super complicated about it. Yeah. And a big part of the mystery, like whenever you learn something, like every person's dialogue is written in different font, depending on their characterization, what knowledge they have. Once you could perhaps have somebody who thought the whole game was like a peasant their dialogue's written in like pigeon scratch, and then you realize actually they're literate and have been reading the whole time, and then suddenly their dialogue changes to like printing press font.
Oh,
it's
wow.
beautiful. You'd really like it.
Oh,
Jeff.
so you were trying to get this limited edition that ran out a couple
I
of
was
days
trying
ago.
to get the vinyl. They were selling all of the, I mean, they had a beautiful, I believe, like golden pressed vinyl
Wow.
for Pentiment's soundtrack. And it's a fantastic
Have you checked
soundtrack.
out,
My friend
eBay?
texted me when it came out, and I was like, oh, I'm at a bar with some coworkers. I'll do it on the train home.
Ha!
In 45 minutes, it was sold out.
You fuel you.
So it's for sale on eBay for
I know.
$97.58.
I know, but do I want to
Well,
spend
that's cheaper than
$100 on
$200.
it? Yeah.
You know, honestly, I love ancient music. My wife calls it church music, and she always knows when I've been at home alone because there'll be Gregorian chants wafting from the bedroom. But there's a lot of great ancient music out there. Probably you could even find it on your Spotify. Look for a guy named Josquin des Prez. Do you know who Josquin des Prez is? He is widely considered the first classical composer from 1450s, thereabouts.
Which is Gutenberg time.
Gutenberg time.
Wow.
Wonderful music, and very weird, some of it, but I think you would really like it. I'm sure that was one of the influences for Pentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could find
Music for the game was composed and performed by Alchemy Early Music Ensemble.
Yeah.
Game director Josh Saar said, they're a music group. They compose and record as an ensemble. The music they've contributed to the game is either strictly historical or historically inspired.
Yeah. See, I like those guys because they use instruments like the sackbut. And
Ooh.
and it gives it
All right.
it gives it a certain. Let me see if I can play some Josquin. Just look for Josquin.
Oh, yes. Name of the Rose is a direct, a primary inspiration for the
it
physical
sounds like
setting
Name of the
and
Rose.
characters.
Yeah. I think you would like some Josquin des Prez. Just here.
All right, Josquin des Prez.
And as you know, I have excellent musical taste, as everyone who listens to this show knows from our incredible opening theme. Where I didn't want to pay
has a medieval.
It is. I didn't want to pay for an actual medieval composer. They're very expensive, it turns out. So I got a phony medieval composer to do our theme.
Speaking of which, I think we're going to need to pay some homage to a Mr. Newmark here. We can't have a whole show go by without
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Where is
Wait a minute.
Jeff from again?
Jeff, you're right. This is all part of the introduction of Jeff Jarvis.
We still have not finished introing the show.
Jeff, I don't know. Are you still the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation?
Yes, I am. I'm on leave.
Are you at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York?
As little as possible.
Emeritus? All right.
Emeritus.
When does the new gig begin? And I think
I don't know. We're still in talks.
For new gig, you should say his new podcast on the Bill Maher Podcast Network. How much? You do have a new podcast. You do an AI podcast.
I do have AI Inside.
Dear friend Jason Howell.
And today we had on Sal Khan.
Oh,
which is pretty amazing.
Salman Khan of the Khan Academy.
Yes, we had a celebrity on. Isn't that amazing? Jason's got he has a book coming out about AI and education, and so I know that mode. It's I got a book coming out. Okay, I'll do any podcast there is, and he did our little podcast. It was a wonderful half-hour conversation today.
Wow, AIinside.show. It's not out yet, but it will be soon.
Will be soon. While we're on Literary Corner, I'm listening to a book right now that I think you would love. James and the Giant Peach. It is
I love his work.
It is the version of Huck Finn written from Jim's perspective.
There actually been a number, I think, of these. I noticed. James is the newest. Yeah, I really do.
It's really good.
I do really want to read it.
It's really, really very
good.
The great conceit in it is that James, the who goes around with Huck and the whole story, is highly literate.
Right.
And so he speaks as in his voice narrating the book. He speaks in his literate voice, but he has to be very careful that he has to play a black person for the white people.
Right. Is that the one that's subtitled "And His White Friend" or something like that? There are a couple of these, I think. I saw one the other day.
This is Percival Everett.
Oh yeah, Percival Everett is the guy these days.
Who's tons and tons of books. It's just really quite wonderful. By the way, and the other one I want you to read is City on Mars. We talked about that a few shows ago.
Yes, I hear that's very good. Yeah.
You need to get that one.
Right. I'm rereading my childhood favorites right now.
Really?
Yes, believe it or not. The Carlos Castaneda. No, although that's a great book. Let me put that on my Audible list. No, did you read when you were a teenager any of the Carlos Castaneda Teachings of Don Juan books? Yeah, they were very popular with a certain group of hallucinogenic using.
I was more in the Hermann Hesse.
Read that too. Glass Bead Game and all of that.
Oh yeah.
Siddhartha. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, moving on from literary corner.
Shirts.
Yeah. Let's talk about AI. What do you think? But before we do that, let's pause. You're watching This Week in General / Google with Paris Martineau, Jeff Jarvis, and me. I'm just some tan guy filling in for Paris. All right,
the George Hamilton of podcasting.
Not that dark. Good article. I thought you might have something to say about it. Zach Seward gave this talk at South by. He has just started a new job at the New York Times. He's responsible for editorial director for AI initiatives at the New York Times. Which, does
that include the lawsuit?
Yeah, initially you might go, really? They want to have actually a person in charge of that? But he says he's building a newsroom team charged with prototyping potential uses of machine learning for the benefit of our journalists and readers. Often machine learning, AI, LLMs are used for the benefit of the corporation, which owns the publication, so they don't have to pay writers. I hope that he's not doing that. He was at Quartz for some time. And actually, I thought wrote a good article. I'm sure you've read it, right, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because this is what you were kind of teaching, I believe.
Yeah, and Zach is brilliant. Zach was at the end, he was in charge of Quartz. He had to sell it to Go Media, unfortunately. He was Wall Street Journal. He's a brilliant journalist and a wonderful guy.
He mocks the initial
former agent.
Oh, well, then you really do know him. He mocks the CNET AI uses.
GeoMedia.
Geo, which did Gizmodo rather. That's who he sold Quartz to, by the way. So he's kind of biting the hand that fed him. Very famously, Sports Illustrated lost their CEO when they had Drew, Sarah, Domino, and Denise write sports articles for Sports Illustrated, except those
Let's
are
make
AIs.
Up our diversity.
They're made up. Oh, yeah, might as well have one black guy, one Asian woman, one white woman, and one white guy. He's the diversity play. Jeez Louise. These were all fakes. So he says AI journalism goes awry when it's unchecked, lazy, selfish, dishonest, and opaque. But, and this is where I thought, well, I really want to know what Jeff's take is on this. He says AI journalism works when it's vetted, rigorous, reader first, truthful, and transparent. What do you need AI for if you're doing all that?
Well, there's a lot you can do with it. I had this in the rundown last week. We didn't get to it. 5 of the current Pulitzer Prize nominees were done in collaboration with AI because it helps with analyzing large data sets, with scraping large data sets, with summarizing data. It's not about making content. It's not about generating, but it is about being able to understand things you couldn't otherwise understand. So I think that's good. We also have the FT is going to do what I've mentioned that Schibsted in Norway is doing. They're going to create an LLM of all their FT content. So you basically create a new window onto their content. That's a smart use. Yeah. I've talked to one editor about getting 100 citizens across the state to record school board meetings and have the AI transcribe it and then create a queryable database of what's going on in these school boards. How many of them are banning books? There's a lot of things that I think newsrooms can do with AI if they have an open mind. And if they're not stupid.
Matt in our Discord, who is Mavs Guy 842, obviously a Dallas Mavericks fan, says, well, human beings in the whole have pretty well lost the plot on actual journalism. There is that.
Well,
there's that. Yeah. Here's an example, though, from his talk when he was at Quartz. They received a huge dump of data, the so-called Mauritius leaks. Mm-hmm. Mauritius is a tax haven, and these were kind of like the Panama Papers, a bunch of documents about people dodging taxes in Mauritius. He said there's no way we could have done this without the use of computers and transformer models, combing through them and find 200,000 pages. 200,000 documents, some of them many pages. And so he said that worked quite well. It was kind of an early use of this. To analyze that data, and I guess that kind of does make sense.
I went to a World Economic Forum event yesterday virtually, and somebody there, some smart person about AI, said, it used to be that we used computers to QA us, and now it's reversed. We QA the AI if you do it right. You have it do something fancy, but you got to check it. You got to make sure it's right.
Mostly the things that Seward talks about here are analyzing data. The New York Times using it to analyze satellite imagery from Gaza of bomb craters, for instance, or the Wall Street Journal using it to find hidden lead cables.
I had no idea that existed, A, and B, how they use the photos to find out what a lead cable was.
He used Google Street View to check images around schools in New Jersey. I don't know if that's a use of AI. Maybe they used AI to analyze the pictures. So. Yeah. BuzzFeed used AI to find patterns in airplane trajectories. It turns out this is very interesting, actually. If you look at FlightAware or anywhere where they will tell you that, commercial airline traffic, most planes go from point A to point B. I'm going from Dallas to San Francisco. But there are planes that seem to be flying in circles. And those planes are probably there spying on whatever's beneath them. So they used an AI to analyze traffic patterns, find the circles, because they're not perfect loops. They're a little wobbly, and they probably couldn't have done it without a computer. So
who's spies, by the way? Do we know?
Let's see. I'll have to read BuzzFeed News. Are they still around?
No. Famously shuttered last year.
Yeah, this was 7 years ago, actually.
U.S. Marshals hunted drug cartel kingpins in Mexico.
Military contractor tracking terrorists in Africa. Yeah. They used flight radar's data to do this. That's kind of interesting. But that's using, I don't think of that as AI as much as using computers to analyze large data sets. When you say AI, usually I'm thinking writing, right?
Well, that's generative AI.
Yes.
AI is just artificial intelligence.
What?
I know. It's crazy.
What? I had no idea.
She has a cold. Go easy.
Google uses AI. Hey, here's a Google story. We might have to change our name again. How we're using AI for reliable flood forecasting. They actually are able to predict riverine flooding up to 7 days in advance. And that is using AI. Floods are the most common type of natural disaster, they write in the Keyword blog. Nearly 1.5 billion people are directly exposed to substantial risks from severe flood events worldwide. They published a paper in Nature that shows how AI can help scale flood forecasting. And I guess as climate change proceeds, this might become more and more important, up to 7 days in advance.
And it's not something that Google has any business doing. They're doing it, because they can and should. It's good.
Yeah. So, I think the conversation about is AI a parlor trick is over, right?
Well, he talked about that in your absence.
We'll ask you, Leo.
What does Ed say? Ed believes it's a parlor trick, right?
We got to get both of you guys on a podcast
now
at the
that I'm
same time
accelerationist,
to see if
because I went from parlor
explodes.
trick to accelerationist, and I
we talked about that.
I love AI. I think it's my new friend.
To Paris's point, is that the AI purists will say generative AI is just one kind of AI. It's all
That's
AI.
right.
It's not.
That's right.
It's not a leap. It's not that big a deal. It goes from analytical to generative, and then next is agentic.
What? Who?
Agents.
Excuse you. Bless you.
Yes. When you trust it to actually do a task for you as an agent.
That's a big leap.
It's a big leap.
We had a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, we had Samable Samit on, who's our car guy. He's a industry analyst. He's been writing about and talking about cars. Oh, and he has a podcast for many years. And
who doesn't?
He said something kind of shocking on that tweet. He said, we will never reach level 5 self-driving. It's a long way off. He says, we're not going to reach it.
No, I agree.
And for a long time, we've acted as if, well, that's just a matter of progress. You slowly get better and better. Pretty soon, level 5 AI, just for those who don't know, is that a car should be able to drive from point A to point B anywhere under any conditions with no human intervention. Just, take me to the river and it'll go. He says it's too hard. So what we're certainly seeing now, and what we're going to could probably see forever, is a human-assisted driving. And for most of us driving our own cars, that's actually a really great benefit because it keeps us a little bit out of
No, it means that somebody's not paying attention and they're not going to be there on time. And
I use ADAS, it's called, assisted driving assistance, automated driving assistance stuff, surface software. And it's like very helpful for like stop and go traffic. I pay attention. In fact, most cars now, my car certainly, have cameras that watch your eyes. If I look out the window too long, it goes beep, beep, pay attention. It actually flashes and buzzes and vibrates. Cadillac has this, GM's Blue Cruise has this. It practically does. The first time I experienced it on Blue Cruise, the seat was vibrating. I felt like, my God, what's going on? But that's good. It makes sure that you're paying attention, but at the same time, it helps you. The car I drive was just rated the safest car in the world by the South Korean authorities because of things like auto stop if you're about to run into something, or lane change warnings and lane assistant that keep you in the lane, and adaptive cruise control, things like that. They are useful. Oh, you're right. If you're silly and you get in the back seat, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. And go ahead, Paris.
Oh, I was just saying, I think it's great. Obviously, I don't drive every day like you two, but whenever
do you even have a car?
and I'm in a... No, I don't have a car. Sometimes I will rent a car.
She's from Brooklyn. She's cool, Leo. No.
Where would I put a car, Leo?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Do you think I'm renting parking space?
Costs more than an apartment. Yeah.
I was about to say, I've got my bike tied up somewhere outside, and even that is a lot for me to deal with. But whenever I do drive a car with ADAS or the program you guys are talking about, I do really like
it's nice
having those things on there. Because, the thing that I'm always worried about is, what if I am not centered in the lane right? And it helps me with that.
Advanced driver assist systems, by the way, is what ADAS.
Yeah.
As long as we're going to use it, I think I should define it. I think they're good. But my point being, it's that extra little... this much that to get to level 5, that it's just super hard. The hard things are easy and the easy things are hard. The things we do easily, the computers just can't do. And I think once you realize that, the idea of an AGI and all that may be a little bit difficult to get to, but there's so much utility below that last 5%.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter.
But it's also it's being oversold. You saw that Musk, in a story this week, is insisting that every sales call must demonstrate his so-called full driving so he can try to sell it to you for $200 a month.
Yeah, if you go to a Tesla dealership and you go for a test drive, they will do full self-driving. See, it works.
It's not. It's a lie. It's a lie, full self-driving. It's dangerous.
Yeah, a lie is such a strong word, but I think it's overselling the capability for sure. for sure. Let's see what else is going on. Well, let's keep doing our AI thing. A great story in Wired. I'm sure both of you read it, and most of our audience. 8 Google employees who invented modern AI. They wrote a paper, the so-called Transformers paper, that everybody read, and then it just took off. It was the foundational research in 2017. The paper was called "Attention is All You Need." Google researchers, most of them have left, basically setting it's a 7th anniversary, by the way. It's according to Wired.
A lot has happened in those 7 years.
Yeah, it has achieved legendary status. The authors started with a thriving and improving technology we've talked about a lot, the AI called neural networks, right? And made it into something else, a digital system so powerful, again, reading from Wired, that its output can feel like the product of an alien intelligence. I told you! This is Stephen Levy writing, so he's very good at that kind of hyperbole. Is that a good word for that? It is kind of like an alien intelligence. Called Transformers, this architecture is the not-so-secret sauce behind all those mind-blowing AI products, including ChatGPT, DALL-E, Midjourney. The author of the paper now jokes if he knew how famous the paper would become, he might have been worried more about the author order. He was listed first, Noam Shazir, even though he said, I don't think I had that much to do with it. He says, Shazir says, all of the 8 signers are now micro-celebrities. I have people asking me for selfies because I'm on a paper, says Leon Jones. The names are picked in order as random. Jeffrey Hinton, who we've talked about, was also, he's not one of the authors, but he says, without Transformers, I don't think we'd be here now. So it was a kind of earth-shattering. And
they're not really giving credit. So when Jensen Huang did his 2-hour keynote that Micah and I watched, he mentioned the Transformers a lot. He mentioned that, but never gave credit to Google.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of, it's like a Bell Labs moment from Google.
Right.
Paris, were you trying to, with your soft,
no, I was
cold
just saying,
voice? I wanted to make sure I had stepped over you there, Paris.
Transformers, iterative self-attention and processing for various tasks. They picked the name Transformers from Day Zero. Is that a novel? The idea was the mechanisms would transform the information it took in, allowing the system to extract as much understanding as a human might, or at least give the illusion of that.
When society breaks down due to a violent outbreak that turns victims into undead monsters.
Oh, good. That's Day Zero?
Good branding.
Great. Well, he also says, and I played with the Hasbro Transformer action figures when I was little, so that was the other.
I think I was probably trying to fix them.
The sentence that began the paper, we are awesome. Okay. Anyway, I haven't read it, so I will not, and I'm certainly not capable of commenting on it, but probably worth mentioning that Google,
the insight was important,
started this all. Yeah.
Well.
The BBC is developing AI plans. The Beeb, this is from Financial Times. They want to build artificial intelligence models. They're negotiating content deals with companies. Of course, the Beeb has a lot of content. They're seeking to use decades worth of journalism to train a generative AI model that could then power products, tools to help journalists produce stories, and then can be used in-house. You ain't going to get an AI to take the place of Douglas Adams and write The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Or are you? Maybe you can.
Sal Khan said he really wants to write a sci-fi novel.
Yeah.
And so he's using AI to help him. And he said, it's hard. He said, it's not there. He's trying to say, well, no, develop this character more, do that more, this and that. He said, it's not there yet, but he thinks it will be.
Yeah.
I think it could be an interesting use case for a kind of a creative jumping off point.
Yes.
I guess if you're talking about a novel. I'm confused as to how this would help BBC journalists. I mean, are they talking about getting B-roll from generative AI? Is that even a good idea?
They want money.
I think, though, any company like the BBC that has decades worth of content, I mean, I think sometimes of what if we could take everything we've ever done and I don't know what we'd get out of it, feed it into an AI. It'd certainly be good for searching and summarizing. This is one thing I'm convinced about, which is that AI is a better search tool. This is really what Google was worried about.
I disagree there.
You don't think so?
I disagree there. No. In fact, there was a piece, I don't think we put it in the rundown, damn it, that said that it's not going to be on search.
So I use it all the time on search.
Here, no, it's line 79 on The Verge.
Okay. Let me just show you what I do.
AI search engines really can't kill Google.
Give me a subject to search for. This is using, by the way, Arc Search, which is, I'm sorry to say, not available on Android because it's written in Swift. They put this on iOS because they do a browser for Mac and Windows, but you can't really put a new browser on iOS because Apple, owns the ecosystem and everything has to be Safari under the hood. But they did do something interesting. They attached an AI to its search. So give me something to search for. What is the origin of jazz? Let's say of jazz. Where did jazz come from, Daddy? Now I can do a regular search, which I just did by accident, pressing go. But let me go back here and do a browse for me button. And I've showed this before.
It's the new I'm feeling lucky.
Well, not exactly. It's using AI to generate, and I've showed this before, a dedicated page that I think is better than a search page. There's Louis Armstrong, jazz origin, New Orleans and beyond. This is all generated text from and they tell you the source pages while they're doing it. They even give you links to them. This is a really good, in my opinion, article about the history of jazz without hallucination, using many sources, including Wikipedia, but also jazzobserver.com, the Library of Congress, jazzinamerica.org, americanhistory.si.edu, levinemusic.org, Britannica, BBC. And honestly, this is better than a Google search for that topic, I think.
It depends on okay, let's separate searches.
Yeah. I mean, I have questions, though, which is like, what if it's a more politically fraught topic? What if it is a topic that does have hallucinations in the results? Also, what are the downstream effects on all of the sources of the information being shown there?
That's a really good question, and we've brought that up.
Let's say this takes off as the dominant form of search. What are any of those websites going to be updated in 5-10 years if they're getting no page views because everything is coming from a internet browser generated search page?
But let me show you what Google does, because Google doesn't do something that different. And it's currently getting in regulatory trouble for that. Yeah, so show my screen. This is Google's search. It gives me a Wikipedia article with some of the same pictures. It gives me people also ask, and then it gives me some of the same,
which link to things,
and then links to the same kind of places. Now, I guess the good news is this links directly to jazzobserver.com. So I'm only going to get a snippet, and then if I want to see more, I actually have to go to the page. But from the point of view of the user, that synopsis is from, and many times that's all you want, but it still gives you the links so you can go deeper if you choose.
Which is better than what I think you get out of AI searches.
No. I'm saying the AI search was better.
That is AI.
Well, I dare to disagree with you.
Well, I dare to say you're wrong.
It depends on the kind of search you're asking.
I wish you had an iPhone, because I really would love you to use Arc Search for just a week, just to see.
But I'm not joining the cult. Thank you.
I think if you used it.
I have an iPhone. I'll download Arc Search.
Yeah,
I am the wrong person to ask to test this because I use Google search like a maniac. I've mentioned before that my Google search habits on a daily basis cause almost every website to ask me if I'm a robot because I open too many pages at once.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. But
it's always like, your browsing habits are unnatural for a human being. That's for work stuff and for just normal browsing.
So there's two different kinds of browsing, and I think the stuff that you do for work, you will use Google and you'll have all those tabs because you're doing a different kind of research. It's like in my day, we would go to the library for this, and you'd go and you go to the card catalog, you write a bunch of numbers down, you give it to the librarian, they'd go up in the stacks, they'd bring a push cart with all the books, and you'd sit in the reading room and go through them. Remember that, Jeff? That's how hard it used to be.
Yeah, Gramps, I do. Yes, I do.
That's what she's doing with Google. But I think, did you do that? But I think, Paris, most of the time, most of us, when we do a search, we just want some specific tidbit. I actually do this with recipes. If I search for, Sol Doré recipes, it will give me a bunch of different great recipes. Now, I may still go to those web pages, but I think the AI is better at search than search is. I really do. And I think Google should be worried.
Let me break in here. The problem is you're acting as if search is one activity. What the Verge piece does, and there's various taxonomies around this, is it separates navigational searches. A lot of people just use it to find a site and get to it. AI is no good for that.
No, I agree.
They want informational searches. Well, it depends on what kind of information you want. If you want a current sports score or something like that, it's going to be no good at that. You want kind of browsing searches. I want to see what the realm is. I want to see what's possible. Not going to be good at that. The test you're putting it to is explain this one thing to me. And okay, presuming you trust it to not be all wrong and screwed up because it doesn't do facts. Okay, if it were right, maybe that'd be better. But those other kinds of, also shopping searches are not going to be good that way. And there's other taxonomies that have other things in them. I'm writing this long paper about the California Journalism Preservation Act, and there's some really old research that talks about information searches, and they try to argue, the industry does, that they're all news searches. No, they're not. I'm looking for Paris hotels, or I'm looking for...
I just did a search for stretch pants.
I own a lot of hotels. It's okay.
I just did a search for stretch pants using the same technique. It looked at Amazon.
You had a lot of food in Mexico, did you?
Yeah. It looked at Amazon.
Never thought about
it looked at Macy's. It looked at a lot of places. Here's men's options, women's options.
Okay, I love
sustainability.
The title for it is Exploring the World of Stretch Pants.
It looked through a bunch of different sites. It found me some. This is Amazon's Essentials Straight Fit Casual Stretch Chino. Here's Mag Compson's Men's Golf Pants. There's a variety. There's even a video of how to stretch your pants. I don't know about that. I think this is shopping. I think you're wrong. I think you can use this for shopping. I wish you had an iPhone. You could try it. You could try it on the net, I guess, using Perplexity AI. Ask your friend Jason Howell, who just said that's what he uses. So I think that this is something Google should be very worried about. And I don't think that, I agree, content creators should be worried as well, but they're worried about Google too. They're not, Google not doing them any favors. Anyway, that's my thought on that. And we disagree, but someday, Jeff, you'll be using AI for search as well. Dozens of top scientists. Dozens. Count them. Dozens.
Not scores, only dozens?
Actually, it is scores. It's 90. 410. Or what is that? 7 dozens. 7.5 dozens. Agree. 7.5. See, that's not as good a title. 7.5 dozen scientists sign effort to prevent AI. There's a big difference between protecting and preventing. Preventing AI bioweapons. I think that seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, but what does signing do to prevent AI bioweapons?
Well, the problem is these guys aren't going to do it. And maybe the federal government will listen to them and they'll go, yeah, we shouldn't do it. But you can bet somebody doing it right now.
I think we should start a letter from here. I think we should do our own letter.
What does AI bioweapon mean?
The AI technology is used to design new proteins that could be used to harm humans.
So good guys will agree and bad guys will still do it.
Right.
We need to start our own letter right here. Dozens of podcasters write letter to protest AI podcasting.
And then, Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that because AI podcasting is never going to happen.
Because it's not worth it?
No, you know what? Actually, this to me is that 5%. Humans have such a finely tuned biology to discern something that's not quite right. It's the uncanny valley effect. That this is one of the reasons I don't think AI illustration really is going to go very far, because I think it's hard to bridge that last 5%, and we are good enough to see 1%. So I think that there'll be that we're going to be somewhat protected by the fact that anything AI generates as a movie, TV show, podcast, art, even writing, I would submit, even writing will be not, it'll be just a little off.
Did you watch the 7 new Sora videos? Line 70?
They're all off, but let's look at them together.
But they're pretty amazing.
Look, I'm not saying they're not amazing.
It's a great tool.
But it's a great tool. You can tell they're just, they're a little off.
Yeah, but in the right hands.
7 new Sora videos sounds like a strange new line in 12 Days of Christmas.
Here is a short film by Shy Kids called Airhead. You look at the feet are wrong. You can kind of just, there's something weird about it.
It's impressive.
All right, it's good. I'll admit it.
So wait till you get to the punchline.
That's not a normal bicycle seat.
Whose head is a balloon.
He's not wearing stretch pants, but he is wearing a stretch head. Look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, living like this has its challenges.
This is really a good question. Can AI tell jokes? Can AI be funny?
I want to see what the prompts were to make this possible.
Yeah.
Here's the joke. He walks carefully through a store with cacti because he's a balloon.
This is a company called Shy Kids, a multimedia production company, and they use Sora for their film. So that doesn't mean... I think this is a human-AI collaboration, probably.
That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. Here's one from... Let's stop that one so the sound stops. This is from Paul Trio, a multidisciplinary artist, writer, and director. It doesn't have a title. He says, working with Sora for the
really holds it together.
The first time I felt unchained as a filmmaker, unrestrained by time or money or the cost
or paying people that I want to work with.
Yeah.
Finally, I'm unchained and can get a computer to generate a person covered in mirrors that turns into a ball with arms.
It's kind of like Airhead. Better stay out of the cactuses, mirror ball man. Wow, this wild. Yeah, this is cool. I think there's a cool
it's cool.
factor.
That's all in the right hands. It's amazing. Now the problem is this is God knows what this costs to process. So this is going to be in the hands of the Spielbergs and such.
Well, that's another interesting question.
Are we 3 very beautiful sea creatures died to make each one of these videos?
Yeah, you see, all of this is a little off.
Yeah,
and also upon inspection, you can
can tell.
Yeah.
And my contention is...
Oh, this one has the worst stuff. This is the one that has
bicycle
really
repatch is what it said.
Yeah. Oh, God. My contention is there is this notion afoot that, it's just a matter of time. It's going to get better and better. And there's this kind of steady progression. But I think like self-driving vehicles, it's very likely that a lot of this stuff will reach that top 5% where it just can't...
Leo, we're going to tell on you. You're supposed to be an accelerationist.
I am.
It's going to be perfect.
In the right directions. In the right directions. I think the mistake AI proponents make is saying it's going to do everything.
Yes. Well, the mistake is making human beings the scale upon which... No, let's make machines that do really great machine things.
Exactly.
Let's make really great tools.
Yeah.
Which this is a pretty amazing tool.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting more than anything else. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that one.
This one with the fox, cat, snake, the ostrich, giraffe, the giant fly, the grifflamingo.
All of these are bad. Bad.
Bad. This is Uncanny Valley, right?
Freaking you out.
Oh, pigs do have wings. Who knew? Who knew?
A pig could fly.
Roger Waters would be so happy to see this.
And they have no front hooves. They can't.
Hooves?
They don't need them.
It behooves
They don't need
you.
them. They just fly forever.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting because this guy's not trying to do humans. He's a sculptor, and he's actually doing sculptures with Sora, which is kind of interesting, I guess.
It's as a tool for creativity. Lev Manovich is doing a lot of work from City University of New York around art and creativity and AI. And I think it's something to be open to as a tool. It's like engraving was an amazing tool when it came out. Around Gutenberg, it wasn't just text, it was also images in all kinds of new ways.
Right. Here is a new attempt, or at least a description of a potential attempt to make AI more interesting. Collective AI. Think the Borg, only it'll be nicer. So I like the illustration in thenextweb.com. Of a probably generated by Sora Borg. No, actually, it's a photograph. I guess. Is that what this means when they have a little camera? It's like cosplay? It is. It's some guy pretending to be Locatus. Anyway, collective AI, the idea being that you get, it's actually going to get a better result because you have AIs that are spread around geographically, talking to one another. And one unit can join the collective by connecting to one existing member who in turn shares the addresses of the other members. Oh no. This way we can create dynamic collective of units that can join or leave at any time. It's not here yet.
I believe this is the plot to The Matrix.
Yeah. By the way, you were 2 years old, 1 year old when The Matrix came out. This week, March, I think 25th was The Matrix's 25th birthday. 24th. The 25th anniversary.
Okay, then I was a few years older than that.
A child, a small child, 25 years
I was
ago.
a wee child.
So mom and dad did not take you to see The Matrix.
They did not.
Have you?
I have seen all the Matrix movies multiple times.
Yeah. They're great.
I honestly liked the fourth one.
Oh, God.
A controversial opinion.
It is very highly controversial.
Well, it was better than the second and third.
Maybe.
I agree.
I went in to see it 25 years ago without any preconceived notions. I hadn't read anything about it. I didn't know what it was about. I knew it was a sci-fi movie with Keanu Reeves. That's all I knew. And I walked out with my eyes about 6 inches wide, blown away.
Same here. And I was 20 years old at the time. So it was like the right age to hit that.
Yeah. I was older than you at the time. It was a big deal. Yeah, I was 42. But it was mind-boggling. And really the premise of it is that we are in a simulation, in this case created by malicious machines who are simply using our body for battery packs. But they have to convince us to stay in the little pods, so they pretend that they give us a world to live in. And it's where
that world has podcasts.
And that world has podcasts and flip phones, orange flip phones, and phone booths, oddly enough, because it was 25 years ago. That was maybe a mistake in The Matrix. But it also gave us the term red pills and blue pills, right? Because if you take the red pill, then you go down the rabbit hole and you discover what the world really is, or take the blue pill and you can continue to operate as normal, never knowing that you're just a battery pack for the machines.
An expression that has been misused by extremists now in terrible ways.
I use it all the time, and I'm an extremist. That's the AI segment.
First, guys.
Well, wait, young man. Wait. Did you order Humane or not?
I didn't. I do see the demo video. We saw.
You don't need to show it.
We saw demos
more features.
At Mobile World Congress. A number of people came up with demos.
If I can just mention a few things, I'll go past. We don't do the stories. Okay. Microsoft is going to require a Copilot key, says Intel.
No, they have. We talked about it on Windows Weekly. It's where they used to have a menu button, a context menu button that no one ever used on the right of the space bar. Now they will have a Copilot key that you touch it and you'll get smarter. And it's going to mean that I will never buy another Microsoft computer. Bad enough they have a Windows key. Now they have a Copilot key. Yeah. By the way, I think that the TikTok, the move to ban TikTok has gone through because I clicked that link, a TikTok link, and what do I get? Bad gateway. So it's over. It's over.
Bad gateway. Bad.
Bad. Was it?
And then if I can follow up on one of the stories that we did while you were gone, the Microsoft is paying Inflection $650 million for the deal we talked about last week.
Inflection is
the information. Inflection is Pi.
Oh, this is the one where they basically they took it over,
acquired. In a weird way. We didn't know what the deal was.
In fact, Microsoft's own head of AI departed as a result.
Yes,
a lot of a lot of senior people from Inflection have now just been absorbed into Microsoft. The company's kind of been hollowed out, but investors got $650 million. So
the Inflection raised $1.5 billion in 2 years to develop Pi, P-I, a chatbot. But really, it wasn't Pi that Microsoft was buying. It was Cake.
They were buying Suleiman.
Yes. Yeah, the head of Inflection, co-founder and CEO Mustafa Suleyman.
All right, thank you. I just want to get those little notes.
So it's gone. Yeah, and the Microsoft, the guy who he replaced, said, "See ya, goodbye."
Well, it was going to be Sam Altman's job. Don't forget.
That's true. Founder of venture firm Air Street Capital says the price seems like a lot. Is it at some point? Are people going to have sunk so much money into AI and not made it back that they go, "Oh, whoops"? Is there going to be an AI bust to go with the boom?
Oh! You're being heretical again, Leo. I don't know what vacation did to you.
What is happening? Were you replaced on the beaches of Cabo?
No, I'm a big believer in AI. I really am. I think it's. We were talking about this before the show.
Tristan Harris.
We were we were talking about this before the show because Benito pointed out the great costs of generating, energy costs alone of generating these models. It's expensive.
Yeah, it's not a question of whether they'll be good. It's a question of whether they'll be profitable.
Profitable. Right? Can they be profitable?
Will they be useful? I mean, I think that...
Not even profitable. Like, are people going to pay for it to make it?
Well, that's what they're only going to pay for it if it's useful to them.
Right.
Step 1 is utility. Step 2 is revenue. Step 3 is profit. And you may get lots of revenue, but it may be too damn expensive.
Right.
So you're right, Benito. It's profit in the end, but you got a few steps on the way there.
I likened it to asteroid mining. We know that there is a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, but it's hideously expensive to get there.
This is why you have to read City on Mars, because they cover that as well. Yeah. It cuts through all. Elon Musk has so much BS, but the whole "we're going to move to Mars" is, and I knew it was BS, but it's so much BSier than I even knew.
Yeah, I knew that. Actually, Daniel Suarez, who is a good friend and a great science fiction author, told me that years ago. He said, nobody's ever going to live on Mars. It's impossible. It's toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? City on Mars? I'm going to add it to my wish list.
Yeah. I listened to it.
I bookmarked it.
By Kelly and Zach Weinersmith.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's very good pop sci.
Can we settle space? Should we settle space? Oh, it's already in my wish list. So
yeah, because you put it in before, but you ignored me as you always
I continue to ignore you.
Yes.
Let's see what's in my shopping cart.
You've got 2 credits expiring in 25 days, Leo.
So what I do is...
You could buy this for 1 credit.
I know. What I do is I go... That day, just because I don't want to lose those credits, which I will at the end of the month, I go and I put something in my shopping cart. Let's see what's in my shopping cart.
Why do yours expire
right now? Because I have old ones. I have the. So I'm buying one by one all 5 volumes of Robert Caro's biography of Lyndon Baines.
How long is that?
Very long.
Of an audiobook.
Very long. The second volume's divided into 3, each of more than 20 hours, and that's just volume 2. Lisa and I are listening to it. It's The Path to Power, which is 40 hours. And right now we're in the back hills of Texas.
How is the narration?
It's good. Grover Gardner is one of my favorite readers, so I don't mind that. Book 2 is 22 hours. Book 3 is 3.1, sorry, 18 hours. Book 3.2 is 16 hours. Book 3.3 is 18 hours. And book 4, I would say the final book, but I don't think it is 32 hours.
I
think he's got one more.
He's still working on one.
Yeah, book 5. Yep. Yeah. So
his editor has died in the middle of it. So
yeah. Then the other book I have in here is the novel that Poor Things was based on, which I don't know if it's good or not. I haven't decided
yet.
I loved the movie. Really loved the movie. So I thought it might be a good novel. I don't know. I have to think before I do that. Maybe I'll replace it with A City on Mars. I might just...
I think you're going to like it. It's up your alley.
Scientists
Jammer B, it's up your alley, too. Did you ever read that?
Have you read A City on Mars? Oh, I thought you did. Okay. Somebody I know did. Scientists...
Me, and you ignore me.
some guy I know.
Some guy. Yeah. I ignore him. I don't pay attention to him.
Some cranky guy. No, somebody else besides you has been recommending. Scientists turn to AI to make beer taste even
See,
better.
I told you there were more good AI
What can't
stories.
AI do?
Researchers in Belgium, the home of beer, use artificial intelligence to improve taste, but say the skill of the brewer remains vital.
Okay.
Of course, they say it in Flemish, which makes it sound even better.
I was going to say, what do those Belgian monks have to think about AI?
Whether you prefer a fruity lambic or a complex Trappist.
They make high alcohol beer.
I love lambics. Belgian beers have long been famed for their variety, quality, and heritage. Professor Kevin Verstreppen of KU Leuven University, who led the research, said AI could help tease apart the complex relationships involved in human aroma perception. They analyzed the chemical makeup of 250 commercial Belgian beers of 22 different styles, including lagers, fruit beers, blondes, West Flander ales, and I used to go out with her, and non-alcoholic beers. Among the properties studied, alcohol content, pH, sugar concentration, and the presence and concentration of more than 200 different compounds involved in flavors like esters produced by yeasts and terpenoids from hops. Wow.
But the AI can't taste it.
No, it'll never, ever.
Poor AI.
Isn't that sad? And honestly, I really think, as much as I'm an AI accelerationist, and I really want AI to
what is going on?
take over.
You're walking it all back?
No, I'm not. I'm calibrating. Because there is this thin layer of things like making beer that I don't think AI is going to really be good at that.
It's called having taste.
Will it be a tool to help them?
It's having taste.
It's having taste. AI has no taste.
We need to make a big metal tongue. Finally be able to taste beer.
Draw that AI. Beer drinker with big metal tongue.
Big metal tongue.
Oh, go to Midjourney and see what it does.
I could do it.
Joe Esposito.
I can do it. Beer.
Okay, yeah. Midjourney versus Joe. Go, Joe.
With big metal tongue. Okay. Who needs humans? Who needs humans? See, I've always felt this. There's a thing that humans do and are that is somehow different in quality. And maybe it's only humans that think that, by the way. It doesn't have to be anything but we're the judges. So it could just be made up. It could be in our imagination. Oh, my God.
Yeah, an AI could never come up with a big metal tongue. Oh, these are terrifying.
Oh, geez.
I think that's Jeff.
Yeah?
Yeah. Let's see some more big metal.
Oh, they're angry.
Boy.
They're so angry. What did you
The
ask?
tongue is no longer metal. I want to stick with the...
They're so wrinkled.
I think it's taking metal into a different context.
Oh, do you think these are like metal rock?
Yeah, like metal.
Oh.
Metal.
Okay,
How about
just
metallic? If I said metallic,
search
would that be better?
Big metal tongue.
Steel
no
tongue.
beer drunk.
Oh, no, just big okay.
Big metal tongue. Let's see what it comes up with that.
Big metal tongue. There is our scary big metal tongue guy. Yikes.
I don't like it.
But the
That's
beard
a
looks
small
good.
metal tongue,
Doesn't
frankly.
it look good? Well, big, small, it's kind of all
The
relative.
beard looks like a porcupine.
Not the beard, the beer.
Oh, the beer does.
The beer, doesn't that look refreshing and delicious?
I suppose,
This is,
yeah.
I'm using Midjourney 6. Oh, that is not a big metal tongue. I don't know what that is. In fact, everything but the tongue is metal. That's just bizarre. That's
the
bizarre.
teeth.
Okay.
So I tried to use Midjourney and from this Discord, and I can't anymore because they took down the free.
You used it too much. That's all. Wait till next month. You can use it some more. Right?
Most of them, the paywalls are
robots
going up
cannot
harder.
comprehend a large metal tongue.
That is a science fiction novel. By the way, the guy who coined the term singularity is a science fiction author. Werner Vinge passed away this week. Much eulogized by many people. He's like Philip K. Dick, a science fiction author. You know, people really loved him. And he was the guy who first postulated that maybe an AI would become human-like, and we would call that,
it's his fault.
Singularity. Yeah. Well, I don't know if fault is the word, but he certainly was the first to think of it.
Well, this whole AGI thing.
Yeah. 2 Hugo Awards. He first coined the term singularity as related to technology in 1983 in an op-ed piece for Omni magazine. So the word singularity had already been there in terms of black holes in space-time, right? When discussing creation of intelligences far greater than our own, he wrote, when the singularity happens, human history will have reached a kind of singularity. And when this happens, I guess when intelligence becomes greater than our own. When this happens, human history will have reached a kind of singularity, an intellectual transition as impenetrable as the knotted space-time at the center of a black hole, and the world will pass far beyond our understanding. He said that was going to happen before 2030. He might not have been wrong. That's what I've been talking about, by the way.
The singularity? The
singularity, when it's going to get really weird. What else is in AI? As AI booms, this is to your point, Benito, land near nuclear power plants becomes hot real estate because...
Hot in more ways than one.
You need energy. Actually, it's probably land that Bitcoin miners gave up with the halving. They're going to sell it along to the next people.
You need a lot of water also.
Oh, do you? Oh, for cooling, yeah.
For cooling, yeah.
What was, you watched the NVIDIA talk, Jensen Huang's talk. He talked about their new processor, which was what, $30,000 each?
Yeah, something ridiculous.
For AI. Here's an article that agrees with you,
And he talked
Jeff.
about it being more efficient. This is what Micah kept pointing out. Every time he talked about environment, it was not, yes, it's more efficient and it can do more. That doesn't mean you save energy. It just means being able to use it to do a lot more stuff.
Here is a contribution from one of our club members, Detroit J. Hohen. Hi, Detroit J. That's a metal beer drinker, all right. It's an alien.
It's true.
H.R. Geiger's metal beer drinker. What else? Here's why AI search engines disagrees with you. From David Pierce, editor-at-large and the host
this I talked about.
Vercast. You talked about this last week. Why it can't kill Google. The AI search tools are getting better.
Listen to me.
But they don't yet understand what a search engine really is and how we use them. David's been on the show. I like David a lot, but he's wrong. Okay.
All right. You've done it.
Okay. Let's pause. Is there I've just been, looking for all the AI stories. Instagram co-founders, AI-powered news app. Oh, this is good. Remember Kevin Systrom announced that they were going to shut down Artifact? Now he says, well, hey, it turns out it takes a lot less to run than we had imagined. So
once we get rid of all that staff.
Yeah, now that it's just the two of us, we're going to keep it going.
Take the Elon Musk approach.
But
just fire everybody and see what happens.
Here's an inspiring quote. It'll still likely go away. Well, now I'm definitely in, but we're exploring all possible routes for it going forward. Okay. I liked Artifact.
What is Artifact again?
It was a social news reader that would aggregate stories for you based on what you read and spent time looking at, but then also had your friends involved. And it was kind of like, there have been so many of these. What was the great one that Twitter bought and basically killed? It was Jonathan Abrams. Nuzzle.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Nuzzle.
I loved Nuzzle's feature, just the simple feature of showing me the links everybody I follow is tweeting or replying to.
Back in the good old days when Twitter was Twitter, Nuzzle was Nuzzle. It was a good time.
The internet was the internet.
The internet was the internet. The Intercept has sued OpenAI, not for copyright, which actually is difficult. And I think that Kathy Gellis has said this several times on many of our shows. Copyright is probably not the venue to go after AI with. The Intercept, as well as the progressive news sites Raw Story and Alternet, filed lawsuits claiming OpenAI had used their stories to train ChatGPT without permission or compensation. Well,
so
that sounds like copyright.
DMCA.
DMCA.
Yeah. The Times included some DMCA violations, but basically these smaller sites can't copyright all of their news articles in the way that they would need to were they to sue based on copyright, says this article.
Okay.
So
we'll see.
They've sidestepped the issue, seeking out representation, Yeah, so just another way to go after them, which kind of still disturbs me because the machine's just trying to learn. That's all it wants to do is learn.
We're going to pause for a moment.
We're not going to reopen this can of worms, guys. We're going to pause for a moment.
We're going to pause for a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
And join our metal tongue beer drinkers. Ooh, Joe.
Hey,
Joe.
At least that's the closest we've gotten to a metal tongue here.
Yeah, but Joe's gonna
only
have
human ingenuity can do that.
Only a human could make this sticker. For those who are only listening, it is one of Joe Esposito's famous round stickers. The text around the edges says, "The things I do for the club, metal tongue beer drinker." It has a guy in a hoodie holding a generic bottle of beer. He looks in every respect like a typical everyday bro, except for the fact that he has a massive silver tongue.
I think it's lead. I would say it
might be even lead or pewter.
Yeah.
Coming out of his mouth.
Some sort of gray epoxy situation.
While experts may differ on the material the tongue is composed of, there is no question it is giant and metallic looking. We'll be back with more. Aren't you so glad you tuned in for this show today? How does this compare to the show that Paris did last week? A little better, a little worse, right?
Well, last week was Micah.
Oh,
last week was Micah.
Paris was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
We've had a while to come down.
Though they're going crazy with the metal tongues. I don't know. This week in Google continues. Jeff Jarvis, Paris Martineau. What should we do a change log? We haven't done a change log, it seems, in so long. Did you guys do it while I was gone?
No, we did.
Did you?
Yeah, well,
We did a change log.
We did? Oh, that's right, you did.
I think there were 2 things in there.
Oh, well, good news. There's 2 things in it today.
Both of them were jokes.
It's time for
the Google change log.
Google Chat rolling out voice messages for Jeff Jarvis. It's workspace only.
What?
The ability to record and send voice messages. Wait a minute.
Could care less.
You know why it's workspace only?
Voice messages, which is what my group chat calls friend podcasts.
So is your group chat in Signal? Is it in WhatsApp? What do you use?
It's on iMessage. It's the Bourgeois Ski, my recreational ski ball team. And we send a volume of messages that is so great that many of us have to delete the group chat regularly from our phones in order to make it operate.
Wow.
Some of those messages are friend podcasts.
I am surprised that people don't use you can dictate, but this is actually, you press the button and you'll record a message, which then will be sent along. To the recipient.
I would say the voice messages is mostly used if you have a story of medium to difficult complexity to tell.
Yeah, and you don't want to type it out.
It would be too annoying to type
yeah.
out. Yeah.
So hello, group. Paris and I have been talking about our next ski trip, and we've decided that Sugarloaf is the place to be.
Wrong ski, Leo. Wrong ski.
43.
Wrong ski.
Oh, it's not that kind of
reference.
We're gonna throw big balls down the hill while we're skiing. It's gonna be very dangerous.
Never mind. This friend podcast is over. There you go. And that's it right there. Are they about that long, or do they go on and on and on and on and on?
They're typically, you can tell it's going to be a good friend podcast when after a minute or two, the person's like, oh, it's going on too long. I got to pause and do another one. Oh,
God. So now you can do that in your work. The reason it's workspace only is because Google Chat is workspace only. That's the last place Google Chat continues. I forgot. Remember we used to have Hangouts? And then they
Google
turn Hangouts
has so
into
many
chat.
products that do or do not exist or exist in some liminal state.
This is a liminal state. I love it.
Good word.
Yes, it is the dreamlike recording with web support coming soon. So now you can have a friend cast right in there, built right in. It looks exactly the same. Or you could use iMessages and do it everywhere. And now, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who use Google Messages, you'll be very glad to know Google has started to roll out Gemini Beta, AI in your messages. Scarlett could be talking to you. Gemini in Google Messages Beta is rolling out for some. You have to have a Pixel 6 or later. or a Fold or a Samsung Galaxy S22 or later, or a Z Flip or a Z Fold. You also have to be a beta tester. You have to have RCS enabled. You have to have a personal Google account. You have to be over 18. And this is the showstopper for me, no family link. I guess because your family and friends might see what you're up to. You have to have English set in 165 plus countries, but Canada, you can have French. And then I guess it will use Gemini. Well, here's an example from 9 to 5 Google. You're in a new conversation, and Gemini offers to write, plan, and learn more with Google AI. So you can just call on it.
Oh, so excited. I got a third one you could use.
Yes.
Within Google,
yes.
Up to line 67.
Okay.
A change inside Google. Their brand new, fancy, huge roof, tent-like P.T. Barnum Bayview office.
Yeah.
Is horrible for Wi-Fi.
Really? Is it because of the
not
roof?
Doing a good job for coming back 3 days a week.
Is it because of the roof? Google spokesperson acknowledged we've had a Wi-Fi connectivity issue in Bayview. We've made several improvements to. Oh, you know what? They're probably using those crappy Google Wi-Fi.
No, they're using industrial ones.
Oh, I hope so.
Managers have encouraged workers to stroll outside or sit at the adjoining cafe where the Wi-Fi signal is
Oh my
stronger.
God.
Some were issued new laptops recently with more powerful Wi-Fi chips.
It is a 600,000 square foot building, and some think that it's the swooping wave-like rooftop that is swallowing broadband signals like the Bermuda Triangle.
How would that work? How would a roof affect the Wi-Fi signal?
It could cause weird...
Yeah, bouncing, right?
Bouncing, I guess.
Around and then it concentrates somewhere weird.
Yeah, interference. Yeah, because the Wi-Fi, goes everywhere, right? Metal is notoriously bad. Wi-Fi doesn't penetrate it because it's such high frequency. So it bounces off the roof.
It's not probably needing to go through the roof.
No, it doesn't have to, but it bounces. That's right. It bounces off it.
A weird angle.
Ricochets.
So it can't find itself again.
Doing, doing, doing.
Wow.
I don't know. Greg Bensinger writing in for Reuters.
A little stretch for the old changelog, but I thought you'd like that.
And that's the Google changelog. I thought that was a good changelog. Thank you very much. I appreciated the additions. All right, you pick. I don't know where you want to go from this.
You got one, Paris? I got some.
You go first, Jeff. I'll pick some after.
Credit to Kashmir Hill. Just like Paris has notches in her laptop, so does Kashmir. She wrote a story about how auto companies were selling data to data brokers who in turn were selling it to insurance companies. And now General Motors is not going to do that anymore.
Yep.
So good on you, Cash.
That's a good one. GM said you agreed to it, but okay, we'll stop.
Next week, I'm going to be in Washington doing, which by the way, next week I have to be hard out to make the train at 7:30. Because the next morning I'll be giving a talk at the IAPP, which is whatever it stands for, privacy people, and I'm on right before Kashmir. So I get to congratulate her.
Nice. Say
person.
Hi. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
About Kashmir, I just want to say, since I complain about a lot of media coverage, I complain about moral panic about the internet and privacy and all that. Kashmir's coverage is always spot on, where she looks at a real harm like this and doesn't engage in stupid moral panic emotional stuff.
I agree.
It's good reporting.
I agree. Would you ask her if she'd like to join us on Twig?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Will do.
Has
she been on Twit?
Yeah, she's done some of our shows, but not in a while, and I think I'd love to get her on.
Yeah, it'd be good.
She's wonderful. TikTok, how's it doing? It's good?
Ask the Senate.
TBD. Ask the Senate.
We had a big debate on Twit on Sunday. Brianna Wu, who, as you know, ran for Congress a couple of years ago, I think in the 2020 cycle, said that due to her connections with politicians, the intelligence community, and so forth, she believes that TikTok really is a threat, that the Chinese government is using it against us, and she was very adamant in favor of banning TikTok. Kathy Gillis, who you all know is an attorney, was very adamant in saying it's a free speech issue.
Yep.
And Congress does not get to, unilaterally say, hey, we're going to kill a social network just because it's owned by the Chinese.
What do you say, Paris?
I mean, I think TikTok probably has a strong First Amendment case against the bill. It seems likely that arguments that it's like unconstitutional, that they could hold up.
It also has I think, a strong common sense argument against it, which is we allow Russia to have Russian television in the United States. The CCT, Chinese TV, CCTV, is on in the United States. We don't block those networks because we're America. The Chinese may block it. They even block TikTok. But we're not China.
Like WeChat is
But the internet's different.
We even allow WeChat in the United States. Furthermore, there's an article from The Intercept. I don't know how we feel about The Intercept and their journalism, but I'm not a Glenn fan. But The Intercept had a very interesting...
He's not there anymore.
Isn't he out?
Is he gone?
He's long out.
Oh, all right.
He's
then
been long gone.
Well, it still has some of his spirit there, I think.
They say Elon Musk, at the same time as he's, fighting the good fight against government surveillance, is profiting off government surveillance.
Surprise!
Surprise! He apparently sells information to brokers, data brokers. We know he's done a very poor job of getting nation-state actors off of Twitter. I think the Chinese government has a very active presence on Twitter, as do the Russians.
Well, he's also, with Tesla, there's another story in here somewhere, that with Tesla, he's in China's pocket.
Right. Well, of course, because it's a big part of his sales, as it is Apple's, by the way. Twitter sells data to a company called Data Miner. I guess the name kind of says it all. Data Miner monitors public activity on social media, provides customers with real-time alerts on desired topics, giving, according to The Intercept, clients like the police a form of social media omniscience. The alerts allow police, for instance, to automatically track a protest as it moves from planning stages into the streets without requiring a warrant or any time-intensive searches. Data Miner defends its service, First Alert, its governmental surveillance platform, as a public safety tool that helps first responders react quickly to sudden crises. But it has also been shown to be used by police to monitor First Amendment-protected online political speech and real-world protests. They have long touted a special relationship with X as integral to First Alert. In fact, Twitter previously owned a stake in Data Miner, although they divested before the purchase. Yeah. So even pre-Elon, right?
Who started Data Miner? Is that a...
I know the Data Miner is used by a lot of large journalism organizations.
Oh, it is.
Too.
It's kind of a clipping service in a way, right? A representative of the surveillance company wrote to the Secret Service in July 2023. They said that Data Miner has a unique contractual relationship with Twitter whereby we have real-time access to the full stream of all publicly available tweets, so-called fire hose.
Right.
That is something hard to get and expensive. So, Elon might say he's all for, keeping the government out of our business, but he's happy to sell it to him.
Well, he also says he's Mr. Tough Guy on criticism, but then he sued critics
and he fired.
And got slapped.
Yeah. And he fired Don Lemon, if he dared ask any questions about his point of view. So we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. I do hope that, look, if you allow things like Twitter, and of course you do, because any attempt to shut down Twitter by the government or to somehow protect your privacy by the government would be immediately met by intelligence services saying, hey, you can't knock that off. We use that. It's very important to our police activities all over the country. They're not going to do that. It's easy to go after TikTok and China because it's China. Anyway, I have to stand out of this because my son really made his name and his business on TikTok. So I guess
How much is he using it these days? You said he kind of shifted.
Yeah, I always said to him, please don't be dependent on a single platform. But the thing is, the algorithm on TikTok was the key element that catapulted him from 30,000 followers to 2.6 million followers. That was critical. Wow. Now he's been able to kind of he does stuff on YouTube and Instagram, but it's not as popular, it's not as big, and it's probably not as effective for him. The algorithm on TikTok, if you can somehow get it to promote you, is incredibly powerful. And I guess that's what people are worried about, that the Chinese government could then, use those levers to propagandize the American public. I don't know.
Shall we look at a current salt hake recipe just for the fun of it? Let's do a sample.
Just while we can.
We can. I haven't asked him.
I see he's there promoting his book. I see that.
Oh, yeah. He's no fool.
Yeah.
He's no fool.
Yeah.
I haven't actually asked him how he feels about a TikTok ban. 2.7 million followers. It is one of the few places where he could get like 2.3 million. Look at this one. This recipe has 10.5 million views. Is one of the few.
What's his most popular video? You can sort by popularity.
Can you? Let's go here.
If you go up to the top, or I don't know if you can do it on. You can do it on
the
mobile
web.
At least. It should be under videos.
I'm looking at the users liked videos are private.
I guess you probably can't do it.
Yeah, it's too bad. But if you look at Instagram, you'll see you don't see how many views you have. You don't see so many of these. It's not done as well. 8.1 million, 2.3 million. I think that 10.5 million might be one of the top ones. Oh, wait a minute. Here's one with 23.4 million.
Number one most popular thing on TikTok has 71.3 million.
Jesus.
Yeah. From September 2021, it's a lamb burger.
Oh. So here's the thing. This is why I kind of can't weigh in on this, because it's very clear to me that those numbers and his popularity and his ability to write a cookbook and make a very good living comes from the TikTok platform.
I have a question.
And God bless it.
Yeah.
How popular is this? In the context of the rest of TikTok?
Food?
Or Salt Hank. How big is he?
Oh, I think there's many bigger people on TikTok, mostly celebrities, right? 2.7 million is nothing.
I think that's part of not exactly the problem, but part of what we are seeing in this shift to more decentralized platforms like TikTok is there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of creators the size of Salt Hank.
Right.
And none of them overlap.
That's a beautiful thing.
Which is good. I would rather that than, Kim Kardashian gets another billion followers. I want to see the diversity. So to shut this down, I think...
Charlie D'Amelio, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
152 million.
Wow.
Mr. Beast, though, only 93.7.
Well, he's on YouTube is his main thing.
But I think that's also a point, which is, people say, oh, it's fungible. That's what Brianna said. Oh, no big deal. You shut down TikTok, they all go to Instagram. It isn't fungible. There's a YouTube audience. Henry has not been able to crack that audience very well. There's an Instagram audience, and Instagram just copied TikTok. So in some ways, the shutting TikTok down is just saying to Mark Zuckerberg, you win. Let's all move everything to Meta and Meta platforms. But Henry is not quite as he's well over 1 million followers, and maybe Instagram. He says, I think Instagram is his most important platform now, but it's not all the same, and you have different audiences on each. The fact that Mr. Beast hasn't become huge on TikTok is very telling.
Well, it's interesting too, Leo, that I'm looking at the Wikipedia list of the most followed TikTok accounts, and unlike other things, it wasn't taken over by corporate. So it's not down until you get to 33 before you get ESPN.
I'm surprised that many people watch ESPN, to be honest with you. Well, it isn't that kind of place. Oh, KB Lame is great. He's the guy who I actually love his TikToks. He's number one with 161 million followers. He's the guy, African. This is a great example, okay? He's from Senegal, right? Doesn't have a lot of resources. he got his start doing TikTok duets where you take a video and then you respond to it. And it was like people would show this complicated way to do things, and then he would just do it. And then go. And his whole person, I mean, this guy would not make it anywhere else. And yet, amazing.
This is why I get angry at people who scold about, you should all get off Twitter. Well, as I keep on saying, Black Twitter is still there. They haven't managed to find a substitute. They built something of value. It's hard to move a community. It's hard to move a genre like this. Musk is ruining it, and it's dying. That's another story in the rundown. The numbers are going way down for Twitter. But there are things of value still there. People of value still there.
Well, and for a guy from Senegal to suddenly do, with very simple production values, this has 36 million views. I mean, he obviously got a cop costume. He's got something that kind of looks like a radar gun. It's not. Something goes whizzing by and stops. Does something to the smartphone. I don't know. He's funny, right? But he's not going to make it on broadcast networks. His cop outfit says "cop" on it,
like a political cartoon.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. And, it's just a camera on a tripod. Here's an example of where somebody can't figure out how to use a soap dispenser. And so KB goes, so this guy says, look, you need this tongs to use the soap dispenser and turn it around and you can dance. And KB goes, well, or you could put your hand under the spout or turn it around. And then here's his trademark. Now that's as simple as can be. He did that in his attic, right? Nothing to it. I love it. Very few people I just think it's great. So the most followed
Creativity.
person.
It's a wonderful thing out there. Creativity.
And I don't see the Chinese government in this at all. I think it's xenophobia, but
it is. I agree.
Yeah. We'll find out. The Senate, we're waiting on the Senate. Biden has said he'll sign it. If he does so,
it's unclear whether or not Schumer is going to bring it to a vote even.
Schumer's holding off because I think Chuck quite rightly says, if we pass this, Biden will lose the election. Congress will get... There are tens, maybe hundreds of millions of young Americans who will say, screw that. It would be horribly unpopular. That's the kind of thing that brings them out in droves. MIT has claimed that a superconducting breakthrough, this is maybe the last best hope for climate change. A superconducting breakthrough means fusion power can be practical.
How often have you heard that story, Leo? How often have you talked about that story on these podcasts?
I keep waiting.
Yeah.
More than 2 years ago, we did the story where MIT claimed scientists were able to generate energy in fusion. That's the power of the sun, which on Earth takes so much energy it's not economically feasible because you have to have it at absolute zero. This breakthrough claimed that the magnet-based design used in these tests is practical, economically viable, and produces more energy than it uses. This is kind of a review of those 2-year-old findings. It changed the cost per watt of a fusion reactor by a factor of almost 40 in one day. Fusion produces no pollutants because it's fusing molecules together to create water. So
we're going to need that for the AGI.
We're going to need it for the AGI. Right. Okay, what else? Do you care about the Pixel 9? Are you all up about the Pixel 9? We will probably, Google usually announces this in the spring, in the summer? I can't even remember anymore. I feel like we're due.
When are the new cars out? I don't remember anymore.
I don't know anymore. When's the new TV season begin, Jeff?
Exactly.
When is Sweeps? None of that matters anymore, right?
That's why I delayed our honeymoon, because of Sweeps.
Sweeps week. Got to write about it on TV Guide. Google Pixel 9 design revealed through 5K renders. This it's a two-lens solution. There will also be, according to this leaker, a Pixel 9 Pro XL. So there'll be a Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, and then an extra large Pixel 9 Pro XL. That's the first time there's been an XL since the Pixel 5. Do we care?
Are you going to upgrade, Jeff?
I've got a 6, so I might.
Oh, yeah, you're due.
Right.
You're due. I have the 8. I bought it just because I kind of keep up, right? But honestly, if you're a smartphone buyer, you wait for the A version. That's almost like 90% of the big boy version for half the price. I think probably the smart buy. Hey, I wonder what Marissa Meyer's up to these days. You ever ask yourself that? You ever wake up saying,
I do, actually.
Well, I'll tell you.
Every couple of days, I wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and think,
Whatever
what
happened?
is Marissa Meyer?
Whatever happened to Marissa Maher? She was, of course, got Google employee number 4 or whatever, in charge of the search page for a long time. Left quite famously to run Yahoo into the ground. I mean, well, it wasn't her fault. They were already in the ground, but she wasn't able to get them up off the ground. And so she kind of moved on. She's been doing little apps, and her newest came out today. Shine by Sunshine. I wonder.
And the design is interesting.
Awful.
Awful is
awful.
The correct description.
In fact, I saw on Twitter, somebody said, the design's awful. She said, contact me. We need some designers. I agree. So she's famous for her design sense, but the idea is cool. You install the app. AI then looks at all your photos. Yes, you have to give it permission. And then it says, hey, there was an event. You want to share this. So, for instance, I installed it this morning, and it's already come up with some events, which is pretty cool. It says, you want to create an album of your trip to Mexico? Sure. It uses AI to pick the best pictures, and then you can share it with somebody. Wow, that's the best pictures, huh? And then you can share it with somebody and share it automatically. The idea is we all go to events and we forget, oh gosh, we should have had everybody send their pictures to Google Photos or whatever. So what you do is you say install Shine, and it created a Madonna album from the Madonna concert I went to. I think that's kind of cool. And then I can use a QR code to invite them to the Madonna album or just send them a link. I think that's cool, yeah?
I guess.
Big long tweet thread announcing it this morning. See, I do visit Twitter for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you she acquired this. I don't know if, I doubt she wrote it.
She's been releasing, she has a whole contacts thing.
Yeah, the Sunshine is there's the contact thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. See, now I have slaked your thirst. iPhone only right now, Android coming. For
Marissa, you came from Google.
I know. Good reviews.
Jeez.
My question is, Leo, what does this do that, like, sharing an iPhone album
Nothing.
doesn't?
And all her point. Well, that's what everybody asked. So I'll go back to Twitter. Everybody said, well, Marissa, Paris wants to know, what does this do that, Google Photos really doesn't do?
Yeah.
But you're right. Also, I'm sure your skis folks, you have a shared.
Yeah, you can do a shared album.
Yeah. I do. I have one from every time I take a picture of my wife, it automatically shares it with her, which is kind of cool. So she doesn't have to say, oh, send me that. She still does. But every once in a while I'll say, oh, I don't need to. You already have it. Here's her tweet, pinned tweet, introducing Shine. A intuitive, and then people say, doesn't Google Photos literally do every single one of these things already? And this guy says it looks like an Indian wedding invitation from 2007. And then startup founders, if you're ever worried that your minimum viable product isn't ready for launch, just come look at this tweet and see what someone with a network worth of 600 million thought was good enough. But mostly the reviews are pretty positive. It is Twitter after all, right? Many congratulations for the launch of Shine. You guys seem to have run out of steam. Should Should I pause? And
we'll get
no. We're
Jeff is just tweeting. Sorry.
Oh, got a tweet.
Got a tweet.
Well, Politico.
I haven't sent any tweets.
Politico called AI the world's most dangerous technology.
Oh,
how
please.
could I not?
Moral panic. Push the button, Benito.
That's exactly what it is.
Push the button.
It's moral panic. I've got a bad feeling about this.
So why are they calling it the most dangerous technology?
Has the New York Times interviewed you yet for your obituary, Jeff? Because if they haven't, I would definitely bring up moral panic.
Yeah. Like, all this outrage over my death is a moral panic. You should read more about this in Webs We Weave. Should be your quote for the obit.
Tell us about the books, Jeff Jarvis.
What books?
Where can I go? Where can I go?
Oh, we're there already?
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't even done our things.
What things? No, that's next.
Oh,
I'm going to do the books now. Magazine available
before everybody leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
the end of the show.
Yes. Gutenberg.com.
Yes.
Where there's a discount code for both my little book magazine and my big book, the Gutenberg parentheses.
And soon the Web We Weave with a.
Soon the Web We Weave.
How does the size of the Web We Weave hold up in between? Is it in between the two?
How does what? You said?
Magazine is a tiny book.
Yes.
Gutenberg
it's between the two.
Big
it's
book.
between the two and size.
Web We Weave.
I didn't hear the word
perfectly
size.
in the middle.
Oh, good. So I will, in my my blurb that I'm going to send off to your editor any day now, I will write that. Here is Jeff's latest book, somewhere in between magazine and the Gutenberg parenthesis.
It's his medium opus.
There we go.
Incorporating a corpora of knowledge about the web. Is it about the web?
Yes, it is. And AI, too.
Specifically the one that we weave.
The full title is The Web We Weave, Why We Must Reclaim the Internet from Moguls, Misanthropes, and Moral Panic.
I agree.
Moral
panic. Yes. In fact, let's point to David Kaye's article on the risks of internet regulation.
It's a very good article. David Kaye was the rapporteur for the UN on free speech and internet. And this is a wonderful piece that just goes through in a very sane way, saying, okay, I understand why you're doing this, but you can use 12-foot IO to get it for free. But there's issues.
It's in Foreign Affairs magazine. Yeah, he starts by talking about TikTok. So good. Yeah, good. Ron DeSantis has signed a bill in Florida that makes it required that if you are under 16, you have to get parental consent before you can have a TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter account.
Supreme Court's
Hasn't he also signed, isn't there a rule banning social media for users under the age of 14? Am I remembering correctly?
Is that Utah or is that Wyoming, or I forget where that is?
The bill requires social media platforms to prevent kids under 14 from creating accounts and delete any that they find existing. So, yes, it also requires parents or guardians to consent for 14 and 15-year-olds to create or maintain social media accounts. Companies that fail to promptly delete accounts belonging to 14 and 15-year-olds can be sued on behalf of those kids. This is the favorite, isn't it? We're not going to do anything, but we'll give parents the right to sue the pants off these guys and may owe them up to $10,000 in damages each. A knowing or reckless violation can be considered an unfair or deceptive trade practice, subject to up to $50,000 in civil penalties per violation.
It's a First Amendment issue. The Supreme Court has ruled against these kinds of age-related things many times before, and this is all performative.
Yeah, he knows it won't fly.
No.
Yeah.
Notably, this law also requires online, like porn websites, to use age verification systems to keep minors off the platforms. A topic we've talked about in the show a million times, because what that means in practice is every adult who visits a porn website now probably has to enter in their driver's license info.
Oh yeah.
To people who are so trustworthy.
Yeah.
That you want them to have your personal data.
Of course. That's great.
I think, honestly, these laws are not intended to protect children, but to actually stop pornography. I think that's the real covert reason, right? They know that this isn't...
Are you saying it's a moral panic?
I'm saying...
There we go.
Must be. No, I mean, I think that's the underlying thing is, well, so what? Nobody should be watching porn anyway. So we can't ban it outright, but this way we'll make it so untenable that in effect it'll be banned.
Well, it was listening to the testimony about the I can't say it.
Mifepristone. Plan B, baby.
Thank you. That's easier. Listening to the testimony about Plan B at the Supreme Court, it was frightening to me how often they were discussing the Comstock Act.
Oh, we don't want that to come back.
Amy Sohn has a really good book about Comstock called The Man Who Hated Women.
It was a ban on birth control information.
And pornography and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But birth control still, yes.
Yeah. 1873. Back then,
he was a self-appointed moral entrepreneur who made himself the censor of the U.S. mail.
Oh, I thought he might have been the postmaster or something. No?
No.
He was some guy.
No. He was kind of, and then he got a quasi-official role, burned countless books, so he banned, threw them away, got people in jail, banned publications, awful person, the worst of American censorship.
And 150 years later, there's still plenty of people who think, we got to do this. We got to ban birth control, got to ban pornography, got to ban sex. Let's ban sex, except in the creation of good Republican children. Tennessee has adopted the Elvis Act, which I think they just voted for because it was such a great name. Frankly, the Elvis Act is, what does it stand for? Some ridiculous retronym.
Yes, it is ridiculous.
It's to prevent, what, you know it? Do you know it? Go ahead.
Ensuring likeness. It's just right there on the screen.
It's just right there for the lead.
Okay.
Go back to the lead. There you go.
Ensuring likeness, voice, and Image Security Act of 2024.
But what it does is replaces the state's right of publicity law, which, isn't a bad thing, protects your name, photograph, and likeness, to also include your voice and AI-specific imitations.
Well, the publicity part was if it was commercial. Now it's any use. And which is, again, an effort to kill fair use and expand restrictions such that satire, imitation, garage bands, all get banned.
Right.
In essence,
the history's interesting.
And the other, my namesake, the other Jeff Jarvis, is an Elvis impersonator.
Right.
And
really? He wouldn't be able to do that. So this all started after Elvis passed away.
Elvis impersonator, you'll enjoy that.
This started after. My realtor's an Elvis impersonator. Maybe we should get that.
No, really?
Yeah. He's about this tall too. It's great. Maybe.
Have you gotten this? Wait. Just hang on this for a second. Have you gone to see your realtor perform?
Well, he performs in the street, so it's not so hard.
Oh, really?
Well, for instance, Butter and Eggs Day is coming up, John, as you know, our great national holiday in Petaluma.
It's the chicken headquarters of the world.
Butter and Eggs Day parade is.
Am I having a stroke?
It's the end of April. You're new to the show. You have not yet heard of the Butter and Eggs Day parade. It's very exciting. It's coming up in Petaluma in April 20th. So, by the way, if people are coming to our open
420.
Yeah, 420. Yeah, always a good day for butter and eggs, because you got the munchies.
Do they make butter statues?
They've got a big sign up there that says, "I moo, therefore I am."
Is that Hitler's birthday? I think it is. But
I believe so.
I will not be in town. That's the week I'm going to visit my mom. But you might want to come to town early, because the following day we're opening our studio to our audience, our Club Twit members. So if you are a Club Twit member and you want to come for Butter and Eggs Day, stay for the show the next day, and I will be back in time for that. Butter and Eggs Day is always a lot of fun, including, of course, the world famous Cutest Little Chicken Town contest, the Good Egg contest, and the Elvis performances of my realtor. It's always a good time. Wow.
Is he as good as the one I just put in the...
this guy really is good.
That's Jeff Jarvis.
Did Johnny come for our New Year's show? Oh, Johnny was there with Marilyn. So was Jeff here for that New Year's show? That one of our New Year's 24 hours of New Year's Eve, we had a Marilyn Monroe impersonator and an Elvis impersonator. And the Elvis impersonator was my realtor. That's hysterical. This
That's
guy's
very
name is
funny,
Jeff Jarvis.
Leo, because all the running joke in Brooklyn, at least, is every broker here is also a DJ. So it's interesting to see the Petaluma version of that is Elvis impersonator.
Elvis impersonators. Patrick Delahanty is yelling at me. He's saying if you do want to come to the live recording on April 7th or 21st, you must. Space is very limited. We do not guarantee you a seat. You must indicate your interest by going. You have to be a Club Twit member. Go to the Discord, press the button, and fill out the form or just go to tickets.twit.tv. But you must be a Club Twit member to come. And I think it's almost sold out. Actually, the April 21st full show is sold out. So you'll be April 7th is your target date. Good reason to join the club. We do stuff for club members, including our Inside Twit coming up on Friday. You also get ad-free versions of all the shows. You also get video of all the shows. We changed kind of how we did it. We used to put some shows inside the paywall. We decided to make them all available in audio. So Hands on Macintosh, Hands on Windows, the Untitled Linux Show for the first time ever, Scott Wilkinson's Home Theater Geeks, iOS Today, all available audio to the public, ad-supported. But if you're in the club, you can also see the video without ads. You get access to the Discord, which is a great place to hang. Actually, that was the one thing during my vacation I continued to do is I would visit the Club Twit Discord because it's my peeps. And all of that's for $7 a month, and it really helps us in the long run because we'd like to keep doing what we're doing. And I don't want to have to become an Elvis impersonator. So I like the mustache.
The mustaches are really...
Should I go for that?
And the flying books.
Flying books. I like that. I think I'd look good with a mustache. What do you think? Kind of a Tom Selleck kind of vibe going on there.
Except you'd only get it if you dyed it, right?
I might get a black one if my eyebrows are still dark. Have you ever contributed to keep a network of shows alive and growing from the comfort of your desk chair? Have you ever helped support creators you enjoy with just the click of a mouse? Have you ever been a part of a fantastic community of people who love technology as much as you do? Have you ever subscribed to a podcast club without ever having to leave your home? Well, now you can. Twit.tv/ClubTwit. I should be selling reverse mortgages in that outfit.
Mar-a-Lago.
Where were we? Butter and Eggs Day. How did we get to Butter and Eggs Day? Oh, Elvis. I'm just trying to backtrack.
Jeff Jarvis.
Oh, Elvis Presley Act. Okay. So this all goes...
We're actually still doing the intro of the show.
This all goes back to... Oh, we haven't introduced Jeff yet. No, this all goes back to 1984. Elvis Presley passes away. Normally, publicity rights end at your death. That's how it used to be forever. If you pass away, then your likeness, Fred Astaire's likeness, can be used in a vacuum cleaner commercial or whatever. The Tennessee legislature didn't like that, so they passed the Personal Rights Protection Act to protect Elvis Presley's publicity rights after his death. Well, now the Elvis Act goes one step farther, protecting you in every possible form for everybody forever after. Apparently, the federal government is also working on something similar. A bipartisan group of House lawmakers revealed you ready? No Artificial Intelligence, Fake Replicas, and Unauthorized Duplications Act. The No AI Fraud Act does some of the same things, which would also go along with the Senate's Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe Act. The No Fakes Act. Can you guys just get to work and fix the problems that we actually have? Just
Can you defeat Russia, maybe?
Just a thought. Just a thought.
No, they're going to spend all their time thinking of really cool acronyms. That's 75% of the job.
Wow.
The question is, why do they even need the acronym? Can't they just call it that and then give it like
it's
some
not
whatever
sexy,
acronym?
Benito.
You can. Yes, you can.
Still call it that, though, you know?
Oh, yeah, you could. You don't have to have an I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to stand
It could just be called the no fakes.
No
acts.
No fakes.
I've got it. We call it the Free Ukraine Act, the FU Act. Pass it.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Geo Media, by the way, we were talking about them earlier. Gizmodo and Quartz owners are selling the AV Club, and they're putting the Onion up for sale.
Don't tell Elon.
Oh, don't buy the Onion, Elon.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my
Don't
God.
even speak that out into the world, Leo.
Oh, my God. Paris, what are you working on at The Information? You got anything? Can you tell us anything? Anything big?
I can't tell you anything about what I'm working on currently, but read The Information. Great website. A lot of good stories on there.
Sure is. And you know what else? Ronna McDaniel is not a contributor.
That's true. Unlike MSNBC.
No, they fired her. Latest this just in.
Yeah.
They said, all right, if Rachel's not happy, we're not happy.
But which executive needs to go walk the plank
Conti,
along
probably,
with her?
I think. But all right, we'll see. The Information, good. Oh, did you just get a redesign? And I wasn't even looking?
We did a couple of months ago. We also recently won 5 awards at the Sabus, which is the Society of, I'm forgetting what it actually stands for. It's like the Society of Business Writers and Editors.
Nice.
It's an annual award conference for business and tech journalism. And The Information won 5 awards and got 2 honorable mentions, which I believe puts us, I think only the New York Times got more awards than us. So,
and you know what I like about The Information? Most other journals, blogs would be on the front page, and I was scrolling through all the stories. I couldn't even find it. So, not even tooting their own horn. That's good. But you can do that. That's good.
I was going to say, I'm out here tooting my own horn.
That's your job. She's the chief tutor.
There we go.
Let's take a little break. When we come back, you can do some picks of the week. I've been saving them up.
I was going to say, you've got a pick this week.
I've got a bunch of them, but I'll only foist one on you this week. You're watching This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis, Paris Martineau. So glad you're here.
Glad you're back, boss.
Oh, it's nice to be back. Let's start with Paris Martineau and your pick of the week, Paris.
My pick of the week is a little late. I recently updated my phone after, I don't know how many updates I'd been missing, enough to where the iOS clearly changed. I think that this iOS update maybe came out end of last year. But one of the things that came out with this new iOS 17 update is an app called the Journal app from Apple, which honestly kind of reminds me of the features you were talking about that you liked about the Shine app, Leo. The thing I like, it's like a daily diary journal, but the thing I like about it is it uses artificial intelligence to kind of scan all the different things you do on your phone and suggest potential journal topics for you whenever you open it up. So let me actually open up my app and see what I've got here. For instance, the other week, I opened it up on like a Saturday morning, and I had gone to 2 parties that Friday night, and it pulled up the photos from party number 1, which was at a bar called Blinky's Bar. And it was like, do you want to write about this? What was your outing at Blinky's Bar like? And it has the little location there, the photos, and gives me the opportunity to write a brief bit about it. And I really like it so far because it prompts you to write about things. I don't have to go and attach photos to my little journal entry. It's already there. And I don't know. I've really been finding it fantastic so far.
It's really cool. It's making some suggestions for me about my trip to Mexico, a outdoor walk I took, kind of rare event. Write about a memorable place from your childhood, add its location to your entry, highlights from your photo memories. Yeah, I love the suggestions, but what I love even more is that Apple's made that suggestion thing an API. so other apps can use it.
Oh,
and this is
that's so
kind
cool.
of contrary to what the DOJ is asserting about Apple. So there's a journaling app I've used for years called Day One, which does in fact use these same suggestions. It uses the API. I like Day One because it also adds like the weather from every day and so forth. So where you are and all sorts of stuff. It's a really great way to do photo albums and so forth. So yes, I agree with you. For free, it's part of iPhone Journal, and kudos for Apple for making the AI underlying the suggestions available to other apps. And Day One is one of those apps that uses it. It's really, you're right. It makes it easy to kind of, and as a young person, as an old person speaking to a young person, do it, because when you get to be my age, the fact that you had a life will really resonate. You'll go, wow, it was great when I could walk. That kind of thing. It's really good. Just
trying to treasure and preserve all those
when I could
fleeting
still
memories.
Do ski balling. Boy, that was great. I want to do mine. I'll just throw it in. There were many.
This should have been my pick as well, because I also saw this over the last week, and it's a great
This is the kind of thing that
this
Paris
is a
would
total Paris Martineau pick. It is from the Netherlands. It is the fish doorbell. So I have to explain a little bit. There's a city boat lock, which in the city of Utrecht. Every spring, fish migrate upstream in searches of places to spawn. They go right through the center of the city. But during that spring, the boat lock is closed, blocking the fish. Enter the fish doorbell. You can help because they've got a live stream of the water. There it is, of the boat lock. There's at the bottom of the boat lock, there's a camera. When you see the fish, any fish, ring the bell. And what will happen is there are currently, by the way, 1,000 people watching this for the fish. No fish. It's just nothing. But what will happen is enough people ring the bell, the lock opens, the fish go through. You're helping fish. And just so you know, there is a YouTube channel called Dutch Wallfish, well named, that has some historic videos from the camera. Well, maybe not very many.
If you go on the fish doorbell link you're at before, you can click nicest photos, and it will show you photos of fish that have been let in. So when you click the doorbell, it opens the lock and the fish get to go through.
Isn't that cool?
So cute.
Well, it takes more than one person to open the lock, right? They accumulate.
Yeah, because otherwise some jerk's going to open it for the sake of opening.
Yeah, just go, hey, look, I opened the doorbell. So it's kind of one of those, fish doorbell things where it's kind of a group activity. Here's a crab in the fish doorbell. Here's some fish. That's one there's is that a person or a frog? I don't know. Does it matter? If it's a person, let the doorbell, ring the doorbell and let him in.
I can practically smell them.
Yeah. The water is not the clearest in the world. This is right up there with the Cambridge coffee pot as the best use of a
It's
webcam.
great.
I love it. The fish doorbell, it is at visdeurbel.nl. VISDEURBEL.nl. Or ask your AI to point you to the fish doorbell.
An AI will replace this function soon. So
yeah, truthfully,
now
they don't really need us to do this. It's to make us feel better about our sad
They
life.
want to use up all the cold water on Earth.
Yes. Jeff, pick.
All right, I'm gonna do 3 fast New York items. First is that The Forward, which is a venerable publication, used to be in Yiddish, used to be in print. It's now online only. They had a paywall. They took it down, and their revenue went up 37%.
What?
Because people contributed more money than they were paying.
Wow.
Do
you think that would work for us?
You don't have a paywall.
Oh.
Yeah, that would.
Well, what if we started a paywall and then took it down?
Maybe, yeah. I'm on a podcast Friday because that's all I do all week is podcasts. Gray Matter.
Oh, you're on Gray Matter?
Yeah,
that's Alex Lindsay's podcast that he does with Michael Krasny. Yeah.
Alex recommended with Michael Krasny. So they started Gray Matter.
Great. Yeah.
I talked to the producer, and so they started by doing membership instead of advertising. They might do advertising later. The members get to watch live and get to ask questions.
Right.
which is interesting.
Yeah. It's good. What else you have?
Yeah. All right. So that's one just to mention. Number two is, Business Insider does these ridiculous things where I went on a plane and I'm going to take 40 pictures of my knees. It was actually started by Henry Blodgett. It was the first one he did.
Really?
So they did. My friend invited me to Google's new New York office. So if you go to that Business Insider story, you will see that they have a gym. They have all these things you expect. I didn't see a foosball stadium, but they have all this stuff. They have food. We know that.
But you've been to Google in Mountain View. There's all sorts of stuff
all kinds
like
of
this.
stuff.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm putting this here is they have a foot washing station.
Well,
why do they need a foot washing
This
station?
goes back to early days of technology history. There was a guy, perhaps you've heard his name, Steve Jobs, who was a bit of a hippie. And one of his first jobs was working at Atari. He was somewhat famous there because he didn't believe in deodorant, but he thought because he was bathing because he was on
modern medicine
because he was on a fruit diet at the time. He was a fruitarian living on apples that he thought he didn't smell, but it turned out it was just that he couldn't smell himself. They actually made him work the night shift. The other reason was he had a habit of bathing his feet in the toilet. And I think that this is probably proactive for people who might be wanting
just in case. Do you want to follow in Steve Jobs' footsteps?
Oh, gosh.
So to speak.
I love that there's no explanation of the purpose of the foot washing station.
Oh, it's obvious, right? Because where's the nozzle?
Says,
it's right there.
The foot washing station has a little bench you can sit. No, I mean, there's no, it's for when you get into the sauna.
Or what is it for?
Paris, it says, this is a foot washing station in that little sign.
That's what that sign says. That's all it says.
I can't read the small type.
But there's no... Why is it a foot washing station?
Well,
if you have to ask, Paris.
I'm telling you, it's the Steve Jobs effect. There's a martial arts studio, fully padded, so that's good if you need to go in there and
get some
steam off. Massage room and recharge room. I have one of these at home. Those are nice. The thumpers. The shop.
No, I don't. They have a merch shop, but I don't. I looked up. I don't think it's for the public. I think it's just for.
It looks terrible. This is the saddest merch shop I've ever seen.
It really is. The new one in Mountain View, which I went to when I was last out there, was sad. It was really sad.
Oh, this is the inside. That was just the storefront.
Oh, yeah.
Which was really pathetic. Inside, not much more interesting, unless you've got to have a Google Backpacker thermos today.
And if you work there, shouldn't they be giving you that stuff?
Well,
they can't give you all of the stuff.
Ruth Porat,
Yeah.
They give away a lot of free stuff.
You could spend $100 on a jacket at work.
They don't know if you have a dog or a cat, so they're going to let you buy the Google branded leash and collar.
Or you use that for your team.
Micro kitchen where you can grow your micro greens. The cafeterias. Do they still have free food at Google? I thought they phased that out.
But when I was last there, remember? No cookies. I was so appalled.
Well, cookies are bad for you, Jeff. Look at these beautiful bathrooms.
The bathrooms are nice.
Co-working spaces. So this looks as nice as Mountain View, maybe even nicer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I met somebody who does this. Like that's their job is designing the Google office spaces.
Well, did they design the weird Wi-Fi one?
Oh, whoops. But you could wash your feet even if you can't get on the Wi-Fi. $2.1 billion office. Where is this, Jeff? Is this the one that this is the Hudson Square one.
Hudson, yeah.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah, it is.
I was thinking of moving there. Live in one of those high rises by Hudson Yards.
Go look at the vessel every day?
Yeah, look at every day. I go out the door, look at the vessel, and go down the high line. Which nobody can be on
because they were killing themselves off of it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What? They don't let anybody on the vessel?
The vessel is closed because too many people jumped off it.
Yes, which you could know
Literally,
was going to happen.
That's the reason.
It's an attractive nuisance.
It's just stairs.
Yeah.
It's just stairs.
So
that's
you can't go on the vessel anymore?
No.
No?
I wouldn't because I'm scared of heights.
It's like a big bridge.
Jeff, I will say, after this week, I'm on you've got a lot of wise points when it comes to bridges, I will say.
Oh, boy.
It's awful.
Yeah, very sad story involved.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, let's not end.
All right, one more.
Sad note. One more thing to cheer us up.
We're gonna go to Paris's borough. We're gonna go to Brooklyn and Boerum Hill, a new building, a lovely new building, trying to be in the neighborhood, a nice place. Read about it all. It has a steam room. Nice. It has all kinds of other things. It has a podcast studio.
Oh, I'm moving there now.
In the apartment building.
I bet you the rent in that apartment would be less than the cost of our studio here.
Yes.
Right?
And you get to be neighbors with Paris.
I like Brooklyn.
Wow.
Is Boerum a nice place to live?
Yeah, I like Boerum Hill.
Okay.
It's cute.
Yeah, cute's the right word. Yeah.
Is there a picture of the podcast studio? This is nice.
I want to see what the rent is here. What's the address?
It says the small ones. They have 5-bedroom ones. They haven't priced that. The small ones start at
a studio starts at $700,000.
A month?
No. To purchase.
Oh, okay.
Purchase.
Actually, that ain't bad. That's not
for a
to find
studio.
Anything under $1 million.
That's how much it would cost for a studio here.
No, for a studio apartment in Boerum. The studios in these big buildings are like
a small,
barely big enough for a queen bed.
1,100 square foot house in Petaluma would be $1 million. Believe it or not.
Oh yeah, no, 1,100 square foot anything in Brooklyn.
This is 50 square
couple
feet,
million,
probably.
Yeah.
Studios of 5 bedrooms start at $700,000. 12,000 square feet of exterior amenities, a cold plunge pool, a podcast studio, a steam room.
You do your cold plunge, you record a quick 3-hour podcast,
That's what I'm thinking.
Then you go into
That's
the steam
what I'm
room.
thinking. We spent $8,000 a month on this. I could just shut this place down, live in Boerum Hills, do the show from there.
Get 1.5 apartments in Boerum Hill and do the show from there.
Well, I don't know if I want a studio. I'm a little old for that.
Yeah, you and Lisa would kill each other.
Yeah, we'd have to have a little separation sometimes. Yeah, not all.
That's what happens when you get older.
Once in a while.
We'll tell you this.
Well, the hotel room in Mexico had a single sink. And we thought, wow, now we know why we have 2 sinks in the bedroom. Holy cow. That is hard. You got to get out of the way. Her, on the other hand, her grandfather grew up in a house with 7 women in 1 bathroom. Or he was the dad, so they were, but yeah, wow. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Yeah. I hope I haven't given away any family secrets here. And if I have, please forget I ever mentioned it. Thank you so much for being here, Paris Martineau, theinformation.com. I really appreciate your visit every week, and thank you so much for doing the show 2 weeks ago. Nice job.
Thanks for having me. It was very fun.
Yay. Jeff Jarvis, I got the card. I got to read it as long as I still can. Is the director of the town, was the director. Is the director?
Was, yeah. No, well, that's past tense now. That's
okay.
Was.
But you're still technically the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation.
Until the August when I add emeritus after the title.
That's good. All right. At the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York.
Paris, I'm sure Craig thanks you for making sure we did the song at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Listen, I got to make sure Craig gets his plugs in.
See if Craig wants to appear in the gear again anytime soon.
I will.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah.
We like having him up there looking down on us with his pigeons. We do This Week in Google on Wednesdays, around about 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. We're going to start on time next week because Jeff has to get on a train. Do you have to leave at 4:30 or you have to be at the train?
I have to leave here at this exact minute.
Perfect. Okay.
7:30 my time.
So next week we'll end 3 minutes earlier. There's a benefit right there.
Yes, please. Last time I had to do this, and I apologize for this, but you ended at like 7:25 my time, so it was perfect.
Yeah, good. No, I'm happy to do that.
To Metro Park. And
I'm happy to do that. Yeah,
I give my keynote the next morning.
Yeah, it's anything to you used to, in the old days of the show, you'd be in Davos, you'd be like going all over the world. You were.
Yeah, I'm not going to torture you with bad hotel Wi-Fi anymore. plus, I can't afford to travel, though I am on the 28th. I think I'm going to be in San Francisco.
Come by
for a World Economic Forum event.
Fun.
And so, no, it's the 28th of May.
Okay.
And so then I would come by the next day to do both. I would see Jason and then come over to you.
Perfect. Do 2 podcasts for the price of 1.
Yeah.
I do remember you doing, I believe you appeared on this show from a darkened cafeteria, midnight cafeteria at Davos one year.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Is that that's my memory?
You did the show
I used to go to
from
the
the
press
Davos
room.
cafeteria?
The food was very good, Paris, because
I'm sure the food
But it was
excellent.
late, so
but
it was
how was the
dark.
Wi-Fi signal?
There was no one there.
Yeah.
It was very dark.
I did it from the press room.
Oh, it was the press room.
There were like 3 people. I did it various places, but one time they were vacuuming around me.
Imagine just being in the press room trying to file something at Davos, and there's a guy doing a 3-hour podcast.
Oh, jeez. Your worst nightmare.
Doing Gutenberg jokes. Yeah, it's too much to bear.
If you want to watch us do it live, you can. We stream on YouTube, youtube.com/twit. If you subscribe and ring the bell, you get a notification when we go live. We go live at the beginning of each show, and we turn off the stream at the end of each show. That makes sense, right? You wouldn't want to watch what's going on in between, believe me. Although if you're in the club, you get to. So maybe I should sell it a little bit better. After the fact, on-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/twig. You can also watch the YouTube channel dedicated to the video from the show, which I think is called something like This Week in Google. And easiest thing to do is subscribe in your favorite podcast client, because then you can watch it at your leisure, audio or video. Just search for Twig. We thank all of our Club Twit members so much for making this show possible. Thanks to our studio manager, Jammer B, Burke McQuinn, repairman extraordinaire, our producer and board op, Benito Gonzalez. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.